I woke up in the middle of the night, shivering. The wind came in from everywhere, and a terrible smell filled my nose. I thought the window was open, so I reached for my shoes, but something was wrong. This wasn't my room. I jumped up, and pain shot through my whole body like little knives cutting me. The room was empty and broken. Just a table, a bed, and piles of trash. I pinched my leg hard. It hurt. This was real. I ran outside and almost threw up. A huge cow shed stood in front of me, with 2 oxen sleeping on hay and a pile of manure nearby. Did I travel through time? Suddenly, memories flooded into my head. I was now a boy named Li Ergu, 15 years old, from Lijia village. My parents died when I was 13. My older brother Li Dagu and his wife Wang Tsuelian took everything and treated me like a slave. They beat me, starved me, and made me sleep next to the cows. Yesterday, my brother whipped me for not finishing the farm work. I only got 2 pieces of hard cornbread for dinner, but I collapsed and died before eating them. Now I was in his body. I felt my arms. They were so thin, just skin and bones. My whole body was covered in whip marks. I was furious. What kind of family does this? I decided to run away. But just as I was about to leave, my vision blurred and a strange screen appeared in front of my eyes. A panel was loading. Something called The Laws of Heaven and Earth tried to stop it, but the panel fought back. Then a message appeared. Curse activated. Infinite growth. Your body grows 1 centimeter every day. You can choose to grow taller, wider, or change any part. A curse? After waiting so long, I got a curse instead of a gift? But then I thought about it. I was only 165 centimeters tall. My brother was about 175 centimeters. No wonder the old me couldn't fight back. If I grew 1 centimeter every day, in 20 days I'd be 185 centimeters. Then I could beat my brother and take back what belonged to me. Also, I didn't know this world yet. What if there were bandits or wolves outside the village? I was too small and weak to survive alone. I had to stay and be patient. If there's one thing I'm good at, it's putting up with hard times. I went back inside, ate the hard, sour cornbread, drank some water, and went to sleep. The next morning, loud banging woke me up. My sister-in-law was screaming and pounding the door. My brother was yelling too, calling me lazy and useless. The sun had barely risen. It was maybe 6 in the morning. I quickly got dressed and opened the door. My brother swung a whip at me and shouted at me to chop wood, feed the pigs, and grind grain. I dodged and ran off to work. Inside, I was boiling with anger. Just wait. 19 more days. Then I'll make them both pay. While working in the cowshed, I opened my panel and checked. My height now showed 166 centimeters. I had really grown by 1 centimeter. It was too small for anyone to notice, and since I was still young, no one would suspect anything. I smiled quietly to myself and kept working. By noon, my whole body ached. My back hurt, my legs felt like jelly, and I was dying of thirst. I had spent the whole morning feeding pigs, chopping wood, and doing every dirty job you could think of. I had never worked this hard in my entire life. Now I finally understood what poor farmers in ancient times really went through. Around noon, my mean sister-in-law Wang Tsuelian brought me food. For dry cornbread buns. That was it. She wasn't being kind. She just didn't want me to die before finishing the work. Then I looked over at what my brother's family was eating. Pork dumplings. Real meat. My blood boiled. That wicked woman. I almost threw the buns on the ground. But I thought about my plan. 19 more days. Just 19 more days, and I'd be tall enough to fight back. So I clenched my teeth and ate the dry bread. In the afternoon, my brother sent me out to the fields with a hoe. When I passed the village entrance, a group of kids swarmed around me, laughing and shouting. Silly ergo. Dumb ergo. Hey ergo. Is your brother finding you a wife? A fat little boy puffed out his chest. No way. My mom says all our money is for my wedding. That was Li Xiaohu, my brother's son. A runny-nosed kid asked him if he was getting married soon, and he bragged that boys in our village marry at 12, so he only had 4 more years to wait. I almost laughed out loud. Get married at 12? What a joke. Keep talking, kid, and you'll regret it too. I swung my hoe hard into the dirt, pretending each swing was hitting my brother's head. It actually made me feel better. By the time the sun started going down, I was completely worn out. I picked up my hoe and walked home, ready for more yelling and insults. But when I walked in, something was very wrong. My brother and his wife were smiling at me. "Oh, second uncle, you worked so hard today," Wang Zuolian said sweetly. "Come sit down and have a drink with your brother." "Yes, second brother," Li Dagu added with a big grin. "It's been ages since we drank together. Your sister-in-law made your favorite dumplings. Come join us." I stared at the table. Fresh dumplings. A bottle of old wine. My eyes narrowed. Had my brother gone crazy? "Why are you suddenly being so nice?" I asked carefully. "You didn't poison the food, did you?" "Hey, what kind of question is that?" Li Dagu said, forcing a laugh and patting my shoulder. "We're real brothers. Don't you trust me?" He was a big, heavy man with thick arms, the kind of guy you'd see in an old action movie. One look at him, and you knew not to mess with him. I felt more and more suspicious. But then I thought, if he wanted to hurt me, he wouldn't need poison. He could crush me with his bare hands. So I sat down and started eating. Maybe it was the curse, but my appetite had grown huge. I wolfed down half a plate of dumplings in no time. "Eat slowly, there's plenty in the pot," my brother said with a smile. I could see Wang Zuolian's eye twitch as she watched me eat. She was smiling, but I knew her heart was breaking with every dumpling I swallowed. "Good. Eat more, Li Dao. Eat more." Then my brother finally got to the point. "Second brother, here's the thing," he said. "Before Mom and Dad passed away, they actually left some property behind. I just found out from the clan leader today. They left you 5 acres of good farmland. The clan has been taking care of it, and now that you're old enough, they want to give it to you." My ears perked up. 5 acres of good farmland? For me? "But," he went on, "I think you're still too young to manage it. Plus, when you get married someday, you'll need our help." So I was thinking, I almost laughed. Now I understood. All the smiles, the dumplings, the wine, it was all for the farmland. They wanted to steal it from me. "I don't understand," I said flatly, and kept eating dumplings. "Oh, uncle, you're so funny," Wang Zuolian jumped in. "Your brother just means, let us hold on to the farmland for you. When you get married, we'll give it back." "Sure you will." "I still don't understand," I said, shoving another dumpling in my mouth. Wang Zuolian's face exploded with rage. She threw herself on the ground and started wailing. "You ungrateful brat. I fed you and raised you for years, and this is how you talk to me? Husband, I can't take this anymore." My brother's face turned dark and scary. His eyes burned into me like he wanted to kill me. My heart skipped a beat. I didn't want to push him too far. Not yet. Not while I was still small. "How about this?" I said quickly. "Let me think about it. I'll give you an answer in half a month." "Half a month." "Perfect. In half a month, I'd be tall and strong." "Half a month?" "Fine, little brother." He forced a smile and squeezed my shoulder. His chubby fingers pressed so hard into my thin bones that I almost yelled in pain. "Don't let me and your sister-in-law down." I nodded and smiled on the outside. But inside, I was already counting the days. "Just wait. You'll both be sorry." Back in my room, my anger boiled over. I took deep breaths and clenched my fists until I finally calmed down. I forced myself to lie down and sleep, trying not to think about my brother's ugly smiling face. 2 days went by. Because of those 5 acres of farmland, my brother and his wife actually changed a little. They still gave me all the hard, dirty jobs, but they stopped hitting me and yelling at me. They even gave me 1 extra steamed bun at every meal. So life got a little easier. I still wasn't eating enough, but at least I wasn't getting whipped. On the 4th day, the village chief came to visit. He smiled and asked me what I wanted to do about the land. I told him I needed more time. I'd give him my answer in 10 days. He nodded and didn't stay long. But before he left, he gave a long, sharp look toward my brother, who was standing at the main house. Then he tucked his hands behind his back and walked away. My brother's face turned black after that look. He slammed the door, and I could hear him pacing inside like a bull. Later, I sneaked close to the wall and listened. "That old man," my brother was hissing. "Even after death, he still hides 5 acres of good land from me. Urgu is his son, but aren't I his son too? You old fool. One day I'll dig up your grave." Then I heard my sister-in-law's worried voice. "Husband, have you noticed something strange about Urgu lately? He's been growing so fast. He's almost as tall as you. What if he gets even taller?" "What do we do?" My ears perked up. So they had noticed. "Growing taller?" My brother snorted. "So what? I can still crush him. He'll never beat me, but I'm worried. Maybe I'll talk to the village chief. Slip him a little money. See if I can get the land transferred to me." "Don't you dare spend too much," she shrieked. 100 coins, no more. Fine, fine. I heard him stomp off to get the money, and she hurried after him, probably to count every single coin. I slipped back to my room, my face cold with anger. So that was his plan. Bribe the clan leader and steal my land. I sat down and opened my panel. Name, Li Dao. Age, 15. Height, 170 centimeters. Weight, 53 kilograms. Status, ordinary person. Inner skill, none. Martial skill, chopping wood. Beginner 11/12. Curse, infinite growth. Weight, chopping wood. That counts as a martial skill? I blinked in surprise. I had been too busy the past few days to check my panel, but now there was a new skill listed. Chopping wood. I picked up the axe next to me and gave it a small swing. A strange feeling of power rushed through my arm. It felt familiar, like I had swung an axe 1,000 times. Techniques popped into my head one after another. Then new words appeared in my mind. For every 30 pounds of wood chopped, experience increases by 1 point. So that was how it worked. And I was only 1 point away from leveling up. My eyes lit up. I grabbed the axe and ran outside to the firewood pile. Under the moonlight, I set up a log and swung the axe hard. Crack! The sharp sound echoed through the yard. While I was chopping, I heard footsteps and angry muttering. I looked up. My brother was walking through the gate, his face dark with anger in the moonlight. When he saw me chopping wood so late at night, he paused for a moment, frowned, cursed under his breath, and walked right into the main house. I quickly put my ear against the wall and listened again. That stubborn clan leader, my brother was growling. I tried to be nice, but he wouldn't give me any respect. Said we'd talk again in 10 days. When that old fool dies, I won't even visit his grave. Don't say that, my sister-in-law whispered nervously. I heard the old clan leader has connections in the city. He even served in the army before. Connections? Nonsense. Let's see how long he lives. My heart beat faster. So my brother had gone to bribe the clan leader tonight. That's why he wasn't home earlier. And it looked like the clan leader had turned him away. Good. By the way, my brother went on. What's wrong with Urgu? Why is he chopping wood in the middle of the night? He's been acting strange lately. Who knows? Let him chop if he wants. But if he doesn't hand over that land in 10 days, I'll break his legs. Outside the wall, my face went cold. You scoundrel. I walked back to my pile of wood, picked up another log, and started chopping with everything I had. Chop away my anger. Chop away that greedy brother of mine. Crack, crack, crack. The sound split the night air. Before I knew it, I had finished 30 whole pounds of wood. A faint light flashed on my panel. Wood chopping proficient 1/20th. A wave of new knowledge flooded into my head. It felt like I had been chopping wood for years. My arms, which had been so thin and weak, suddenly felt firm and strong. The techniques were clear in my mind. My heart pounded with excitement. If I could keep leveling up this skill, maybe I really could beat my brother one day. 3 more days passed. I spent every free moment chopping wood. My skill shot up fast, from proficient 1/20th to skilled 34/40ths in just 3 days. 200 more pounds, and I'd hit the next level. My future was starting to look bright. And every day, my future was starting to look bright. And every day, my future was starting to look bright. And every day, my future was starting to look bright. And every day, my future was starting to look bright. And her eyes followed me everywhere. One time, I even caught her secretly comparing my height against the door frame. She was realizing the truth. I really was growing taller every single day. Something was definitely wrong with Urgu, and she knew it. That night, I kept chopping wood in the yard under the moonlight. The sharp cracking sounds echoed through the dark. Inside the house, I could hear whispering. I didn't need to listen closely to know what was coming. Sure enough, after a few minutes, I heard heavy footsteps. My brother came out with a thick wooden stick in his hand. His face was dark, and his eyes were cold as he stared at me. Urgu, why aren't you sleeping? What are you doing out here so late? He asked in a low, angry voice. I didn't answer. I just kept chopping. Crack, crack, crack. I saw experience points rising in my mind with every swing. I acted like he wasn't even there. You dare ignore your brother? He roared. I'll teach you a lesson, finally. That was what he wanted, a reason to hurt me. He raised the heavy stick high and rushed at me, swinging down hard at my leg. If it had hit, my bone would have snapped in two. But my eyes went sharp. My body moved on its own. All those nights of chopping wood had made my muscles strong. My reflexes were faster than they had ever been. I lifted my small axe and blocked his stick midair. Bang! The shock shot through my hands and went numb. But I didn't stop. I lunged forward and kicked him hard in the chest. My brother froze. His eyes went wide. He wasn't expecting the skinny boy to fight back. He stumbled backward, nearly falling, and dropped his stick. I didn't give him a chance. I raised my axe and swung it down at his shoulder. "Urgu, what are you doing?" "I'm your brother," he shouted in panic. "HHH." The axe came down. His scream tore through the quiet night. I heard my sister-in-law cry out from inside the house. "Husband!" She came running outside, screaming for help. "Urgu is attacking someone. Somebody help!" Thud, thud, thud. I swung the axe a few more times, hitting his shoulders. All my anger, all my hate from the past weeks, all of it came pouring out. I turned and charged at my sister-in-law. She screamed and tried to run, but I was taller and stronger than her now. I leapt forward and kicked her hard in the face. She flew backward and crashed to the ground, blood pouring from her nose. She trembled in fear. "Help! Somebody help me!" she cried. "Shut up!" I shouted. "If you scream one more time, you'll regret it." She covered her mouth with both hands, shaking like a leaf. My brother lay on the ground groaning, trying to crawl away. "Urgu, you've gone crazy. I'm your brother. I'm your father," I roared back. I grabbed the wooden stick he had dropped. "Didn't you want to hurt me? Let's see who wins now." Crack. The stick came down on his legs. His bones bent in a way they shouldn't. He screamed so loudly I thought he might pass out. "Husband!" Wang Zuilian screamed. I turned and slapped her across the face. Hard. Several teeth flew out of her mouth. Blood poured down her chin. She sat there shaking, too scared to even cry out. Inside the house, little Li Xiaohu was wailing. "Father! Father!" I took a long breath. All the anger that had been burning in my chest for weeks finally calmed down a little. I walked over and kicked my brother one more time. "You've been hitting me for years. Now it's your turn to pay." Then I grabbed his hair and dragged him across the ground toward the cowshed, ignoring his cries of pain. I shoved his face straight into the dirt and manure. "Go on, see how you like it." I pushed his head down harder. "This is where you made me sleep every night, remember?" Then I turned back to my sister-in-law with a cold smile. "My dear sister-in-law, I'm hungry. Go make me something good to eat. And don't try anything stupid, Uncle. There's nothing left to eat in the house." She whimpered, holding her swollen face. Smack. I slapped her again. She fell to the ground. "Don't call me Uncle. Go cook something right now, or I'll hurt Li Xiao." Okay, she sobbed, scrambling to her feet and running to the kitchen. Then I walked over to little Li Xiaohu, who was shaking in the corner with tears running down his cheeks. "Second uncle," he whispered, terrified. "Don't worry," I said with a smile. "I don't hurt children." He nodded quickly, relief showing on his little face. Then I leaned closer. "But if you don't listen to me," I said softly, "I'll make sure you never grow up to marry anyone." "No," he screamed in terror. I smiled and walked away. Tonight, this house had a new master. I dropped into the chair, exhausted but smiling. My whole body ached, but I couldn't stop grinning. I opened my panel to check. Name, Li Dao. Age, 15. Height, 173 centimeters. Weight, 59 kilograms. Martial skill, wood chopping technique mastery 1/60th. Another level up? I whispered. This chopping skill is incredible. If I hadn't spent those nights chopping wood, I never could have beaten my brother tonight. I was still only 1.73 meters tall, not even that big. But my skill had made all the difference. For years, those two had treated me like dirt, kicking me, starving me, whipping me. They probably never imagined it would end like this. A few minutes later, Wang Zuilian came in, shaking like a scared mouse. She carried a plate of salted fish, a dish of stir-fried cabbage, and a basket of steamed white buns. "Uncle, the food is ready," she said in a tiny voice. I smiled coldly. "Li Xiaohu, come here. You eat first. If there's poison, you'll be the one to taste it." The little boy trembled and looked at his mother with wide, helpless eyes. "There's no poison really," she cried quickly. But I glared at him until he took small bites from every dish and nibbled on every single bun. Only then did I start eating. And oh, how I ate. It had been more than a week since I came to this world, and I had almost forgotten what real white flour buns tasted like. I swallowed 7 or 8 of them in one go. Poor Li Xiaohu just stood there drooling, afraid to even touch one without my permission. I finally stopped and patted my full belly. "That was good. From tomorrow on, you make food like this every single day, for lunch and dinner. Every day, Wang Zilian squeaked, her voice rising in horror. If you dare complain, you'll regret it. I glared at her. She covered her mouth fast, but I could see the pain in her eyes. She was probably calculating how much money this would cost her every month. Good. Let her suffer a little. Get out, I said coldly. From now on, I sleep in the inner room, and you sleep outside. Li Xiaohu sleeps next to me. If you try anything funny, he'll be the first one I hurt. She wanted to argue, but one look at her son's terrified face, and she gave up. She walked out with her head down, her shoulders shaking. Mother, Li Xiaohu cried. I put my arm around his little shoulder and smiled. Be good, Xiaohu. From now on, you sleep with me. Don't cause any trouble. He nodded fast, shivering under my arm. I stretched and realized I still wasn't sleepy. So I grabbed my axe and went back to the yard. I wanted to see what happened if I kept pushing this skill higher and higher. Maybe it would make me even stronger. Crack, crack. The sound of chopping filled the dark night once again. From the cowshed, I could hear Wang Zilian tending to her injured husband, whispering over and over, he's possessed. He really is possessed. Days passed. Life became very different in the house. Wang Zilian and my brother became quiet and obedient. His legs were broken. Her son's life was in my hands. Whatever I said, they did. I demanded meat every day. She cooked it. I demanded clean clothes. She washed them. I slept in the warm inner room. They slept wherever I told them to. But something else was happening too. Something that terrified my sister-in-law even more. I was growing fast. Really fast. Every morning I was taller than the day before. Half a month after that fight, I had reached 1.88 meters, a full head taller than my brother. My shoulders were wide, my arms were thick with muscle, and my skin had turned darker and stronger from all the work. I looked like a young man now, powerful and a little scary. Wang Zilian was convinced I had been possessed by some kind of evil spirit. One day when I wasn't paying attention, she sneaked off to visit an old woman called Granny Wang at the east end of the village. People said Granny Wang could see spirits and break curses. After my sister-in-law explained everything, Granny Wang did some ritual and told her that I was possessed by a mountain spirit shaped like a donkey. Wang Zilian was terrified and asked how to fix it. But Granny Wang said it would cost a lot of money. Wang Zilian couldn't bear to part with the coins. She went home upset, torn between her fear and her love for money. Meanwhile, I didn't care about any of that. I had stopped doing farm work completely. I just chopped wood every single day. When the house ran out, I went out to the forest and chopped more. After half a month of non-stop chopping, my skill had grown from mastery to perfection, and then to something called unprecedented. Name: Li Dao. Age: 15. Height: 188 centimeters. Weight: 74 kilograms. Martial skill: wood chopping. Unprecedented. 15 140ths. Curse: infinite growth. After unprecedented, is there another level? I muttered, rubbing my chin. This wood chopping skill had truly amazed me. It was making me think about something bigger. If a simple chopping skill could make me this strong, imagine what real martial arts could do with this system. And there was another thing. Maybe strong martial arts could help me control this weird curse. Because honestly, I was starting to worry. If I kept growing 1 centimeter every day, what would happen in a few years? Would I turn into a 4-meter giant monster? I need a plan, I thought. I'll sell the farmland, take over my brother's property, and move to the city. There I can learn real martial arts. Is Li Dao at home? A calm, elderly voice called from outside the gate. The village chief. My eyes lit up. I put down my axe, walked to the gate, and pulled it open. The old man stood there in a black linen robe, leaning on his cane with some land deeds in his hand. But the moment he saw me, he froze. His eyes went wide as he looked up and up at my face. Is this really Liurgu? It's only been a few days. How did he grow so tall? Village chief. You're here. Please, come inside, I said with a smile. Li Dao, your height. How did you grow so much? He asked, still shocked. I was born with a special gift, I said smoothly. I didn't grow much before, but lately I've started shooting up fast. I let him into the house and got straight to the point. By the way, village chief, if I were to sell those 5 acres of good farmland, how much could I get? He stopped walking. He stared at me like he had misheard. You want to sell them? Yes, I nodded firmly. I'll sell them. From the cowshed, I heard a sudden gasp. My brother was listening. His breathing grew fast and panicked. He stared at me with desperate eyes, but he couldn't even stand up to stop me. I smiled to myself. Sorry, brother. That land was never yours to begin with. The village chief sat down on a chair, his face serious. Li Dao, you need to think carefully, he said. In this world, farmland means life. People would fight to the death over even half an acre. Once you sell it, it will be very hard to buy back. Besides, those 5 acres of good land were what your parents worked so hard to save up. I know, I said calmly. I'll still sell them. I looked him in the eye. To be honest, village chief, my dreams aren't here in this little village. I want to sell the land and go to the city to learn martial arts. I heard you used to be a soldier and led a small unit. You must know people who can help. You want to learn martial arts? His eyes went wide with surprise. I could almost see him wondering if my family was specially blessed. A country boy suddenly wanting to learn martial arts? Li Dao, learning martial arts isn't easy, he said seriously. Haven't you heard the saying, the poor study books, the rich practice martial arts? Even if you sell all 5 acres, you'd only get about 10 taels of silver. That's barely enough for 1 month at a martial arts school. If you fail to learn anything, you'll lose both your money and your land. It's better to stay here and farm peacefully your whole life. Only 10 taels? I frowned. That was way less than I expected. And that's not all, the village chief went on. The world outside is in chaos. Our mountain village is quiet, but the roads are dangerous. You might run into bandits before you even reach the city. There are really bandits on the road? I asked, surprised. Of course. Our area is part of Fengzhou, but it's far from peaceful. Powerful families and warlords control their own lands. They rob travelers and merchants. Some have even raised their flags to rebel against the empire. You've never left these mountains, so you don't know how bad things are. Honestly, I can't even promise you'd make it to the city alive. My heart skipped a beat. This was my first real look at the world outside. Don't the officials do anything about the warlords and bandits? I asked. The village chief shook his head. They can't, and they don't dare. The empire is weakening every year. Rebellions rise up everywhere. Martial sects are spreading across the land. The royal court looks away from most of it. There are more than 10 martial saints in the world now. Each one is as mighty as a god. The empire has long lost its real strength. As mighty as gods. My heart jumped. Village chief, do you know the levels of cultivation in this world? I only know the most basic stage, the 10 foundations. Beyond that, I have no idea. The 10 foundations? I leaned forward, hungry for more. Yes, he said. In this world, there are 3 kinds of cultivation. The body, the vital energy, and the spirit systems. Each one has its own secrets, but the early stages are the same, the 10 foundation gates. Each gate you open makes you much stronger, but the next one is always harder than the last. I served in the army for years, and I've only reached the 3rd gate. What's the difference between the 3? I asked, my mind racing. You can guess from the names, he smiled. The body path trains your physical strength to its limit. The vital energy path trains your inner energy and breathing. Their organs become tough as metal, and they can hurt enemies from a distance with their energy. He paused, his face growing serious. The spirit path is the hardest. Maybe 1 in 10,000 can practice it. Those who succeed are called skybinders. They can control natural forces with just their minds, lightning, snow, wind. Some can even destroy a whole city with a single thought. My jaw dropped. Really? There are people like that? This wasn't just martial arts. This was like something from a fairy tale. A world where mortal men could become immortals. As for me, the village chief went on, I follow the body path. That's the one most poor people pick. But even that path needs many resources, special herbal baths and medicines. Without them, progress is very slow. So you see, learning martial arts isn't simple. Think carefully. Then he looked at me with kind eyes. If you truly want to learn, I can teach you a few military techniques I picked up as a squad leader. They're simple, but they'll make your body stronger. My eyes lit up. You teach me? Village chief, I'll give you 2 acres of good farmland in return. No need, he smiled. Your father helped me once, long ago. Teaching you something small like this is nothing. He pulled out the land deeds. Take a look at these. If everything looks right, press your fingerprint here. I scanned the papers, dipped my finger in red ink, and pressed it firmly on the paper. Wait at home, he said, standing up. I'll go get the manual for you. As he walked past the cowshed on his way out, he couldn't help but glance inside with a small frown. This Li Ergu is really something, his eyes seemed to say. He actually tamed Li Degu completely? Could a spirit really have possessed him? He shook his head and walked away. I carefully hid the land deeds, my heart pounding with excitement. Then I went back to the yard and started chopping wood again. Not long after, there was a knock at the gate. Finally, the village chief was back. He handed me a yellowed old book with a warm smile. This is what I learned in the army. It's simple, just follow the pictures and practice. I took the book and flipped through it eagerly. On the cover, 3 bold characters stood out. Taizu Long Fist. My heart jumped. That name. I knew it from the stories I had read in my past life. King Shao had used this very Taizu Long Fist to make every warrior in Jushin Manor shake with fear. I opened the pages and saw drawings of little figures in different fighting poses. Over a dozen pages of punches and stances. Thank you, village chief, I bowed, pressing my hands together with respect. This was it. The very first martial art I had gotten in this new world. I held the book tight against my chest. Back in the old stories, King Shao had shaken the whole world with this fist style. Today, I, Li Dao, would use this same Taizu Long Fist to carve out my own path. The mountain village was just the beginning. One day soon, I'd go down this mountain and into the wide, wild world beyond. And when that day came, the whole world would know my name. Days flew by like arrows. Ever since the village chief gave me the Taizu Long Fist, I practiced it day and night without rest. And my body kept growing taller, fast. Half a month later, I was over 2 meters tall. 2 meters and 3 centimeters, to be exact. In my village, where most men were only about 1 meter 66, I was a giant. People couldn't help but stare at me wherever I went. At first, the villagers didn't pay much attention. But as time passed, they started noticing that something was very wrong with me. Then the rumors began. Thanks to that old witch Granny Wong, almost everyone in Lijia village now believed I was possessed by a donkey demon. They said if the evil spirit wasn't driven out soon, I'd lose control and hurt everyone. They said what happened to my brother would happen to all of them. Fear spread through the whole village. And the fact that I practiced martial arts every day only made people more nervous. 5 more days passed. Late one night, after finishing my training, I was drenched in sweat. I caught my breath and opened my panel. Name, Li Dao. Age, 15. Height, 208 centimeters. Weight, 85 kilograms. Martial arts. Wood chopping technique unprecedented 138 to 140. Taizu Long Fist proficient 68 100ths. Just 2 more experience points and my wood chopping will break through again, I muttered. I wonder what comes after unprecedented. My body had changed so much. I was lean but packed with solid muscle, like a real martial artist. And at 2.08 meters tall, none of my old clothes fit anymore. Even my brother's pants looked like shorts on me. His shirts didn't even go halfway down my back. So I mostly walked around bare-chested at home. Under the sun, my skin had turned dark and strong, full of power. Since my curse lets me choose between growing taller or wider, I thought, let me try growing wider this time. I stared at the panel and silently commanded, "Panel, grow wider." The panel flashed softly, then went back to normal. Was that it? I wasn't sure. I guessed I'd find out tomorrow. I went back to the yard, picked up another log, and kept chopping. Crack, crack. Outside the yard, in a dark alley, something terrible was being prepared. A large group of villagers had gathered, their faces pale with fear. Each one carried a big bucket covered with a bamboo lid. A foul, sickening smell leaked out from inside, a mix of human waste and dog's blood. Listen carefully, a middle-aged man whispered. I'll knock on the door. When Li Dao opens it, everyone throw your buckets at him all at once. We have to break the donkey spirit's power. This is for our whole village. Stay calm. The others nodded with trembling hands. They were terrified, but for the sake of their own lives, they gritted their teeth. The man took a deep breath and stepped up to my gate. He knocked loudly. Brother Li Dao, are you home? Inside the yard, I was still chopping wood when suddenly a disgusting smell hit my nose. I covered my face and frowned. What on earth is that awful stink? Brother Li Dao, open up. It's Li Dabing. The village chief sent me to discuss something with you. The knocking came again. I frowned. Li Dabing? Why would he come so late at night? The old me barely knew him. As I walked toward the gate, I passed the cow sheet. I noticed Wang Zulian looking at the gate with a strange, hopeful expression, like she was waiting for something. Her eyes also flicked toward me. My frown deepened. Something was wrong. Was she planning something against me? But I gave a cold laugh and kept walking. I acted calm as I unlatched the gate and pulled it open. The second the gate swung open, Li Dabing jumped back and shouted, "The donkey spirit is out." Villagers poured out of the alley like ants. They ripped the lids off their buckets and hurled the disgusting mixture of waste and blood straight at me. My eyes went wide, but I had been on guard. The instant Li Dabing shouted, I leaped sideways, dodging just in time. But my brother and sister-in-law, standing behind me near the cowshed, weren't so lucky. The stinking mess splashed all over them. HHH. They screamed, gagging from the horrible smell. When the villagers saw I had dodged, they panicked and started charging forward, throwing more and more filthy liquid at me. I jumped and dodged again and again, my anger building. Finally, I ran into the inner room and slammed the door. But they kept throwing. The paper windows tore apart. The filthy liquid splashed inside the room. My house. Don't ruin my house, Wang Zuolian wailed. My eyes burned. My whole body was shaking with rage. Who dared do this to me? I grabbed a wooden stool and threw it through the window with all my strength. Crash. It flew out and smashed into the crowd. Several villagers went down, screaming in pain. I grabbed another stool. And another. I hurled them out one after another. The stools cut through the air like bullets, sending the crowd scattering. The donkey spirit is attacking. It's too strong. Don't panic. Throw the torches. Burn it. Yes. Burn the donkey demon. My blood turned cold as I watched over a dozen torches fly through the air and land on the house. Don't throw the torches. My house. My house. Wang Zuolian wailed in horror. My son, my brother cried, slamming his head on the ground. Li Xiaohu was still inside the burning room. The flames spread fast. I grabbed little Li Xiaohu, who was frozen with fear, and tossed him out the window to safety. Then I picked up a thick wooden stick, kicked down the door, and charged into the yard like a wild beast. Crack! My stick smashed into the closest villager's head. He dropped to the ground, unconscious. The donkey demon is attacking. Run! Uncle Tian, hurry! Run for your lives! The villagers scattered in every direction. But I wasn't done. My anger was an inferno. I swung the stick again and again. Thud! 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 More men fell. More cries filled the night. By the time the rest managed to escape, several were lying on the ground. Behind me, the flames roared higher, lighting up the sky. My brother and his wife sat on the ground, pale and broken. My house, my money, my brother sobbed. Wang Zuolian just sat there, staring at the flames with empty eyes like she had lost her soul. Everything they had saved for years was burning up inside. I grabbed one of the villagers whose leg I had just broken and lifted him up by the collar. You fools, were you trying to burn me alive? Please, spare me, Lord Donkey Spirit, he cried, clutching his broken leg. I was forced. It was all Granny Wang's idea. If you want revenge, go to her. Please let me go, spare us, Lord Donkey Spirit. We were all forced. The other injured villagers begged for their lives. Nonsense, I roared. Who are you calling a donkey spirit? Who was behind this? I don't know. I really don't. It was Granny Wang. HHH. The man's eyes rolled back, and he fainted from the pain. I dropped him and stood still, my chest heaving. So, Granny Wang, my face turned to ice. The remaining villagers saw my expression and limped away as fast as they could, never looking back. I dropped my stick, breathed deeply, and walked back to my pile of logs. I picked up my axe and started chopping again. Crack, crack, crack. The night turned strangely quiet, except for the sound of my axe. My brother and his wife stood nearby, tears streaming down their faces, watching their house burn to the ground. I didn't care. I just kept chopping. The sun rose. After chopping wood all night, I finally stopped and looked at my panel. Wood chopping, master technique. Chop. No more experience points. A flood of knowledge poured into my mind, like I had been swinging an axe for 1,000 years. I felt calm and powerful. It's reached its limit, I murmured. Then I checked my height and weight. Height, still 208 centimeters. Weight, 90 kilograms. I had gained 10 gene, so growing wider really did make me heavier. And with the extra mass and my new mastery, my strength had grown a lot. I flexed my arm, feeling the raw power in it. My muscles were thick and hard. That's enough, I said to myself. I can't stay in Lijia village any longer. Today I find the village chief, sell the land, and leave this place forever. But first, there was one more thing to take care of. A cold light flashed in my eyes. I picked up my small axe and walked out. At the east end of the village, at Granny Wang's house, a few frightened men had rushed there at dawn to report what had happened. Granny Wang, that donkey demon is a monster. Uncle Tian, Dazhuang, and Ermao are dead. Many others are badly hurt. What do we do? The donkey demon has gone wild. Granny Wang, please think of something. The old woman sat on her mat, small and bent, barely 1.5 meters tall. She had white hair and wore black clothes, puffing on a long tobacco pipe. Don't worry, she said calmly. That donkey demon is stronger than I expected, but I'm prepared. I have holy water ready. If we make him drink it while he's eating, his power will disappear. Holy water, the men whispered. She took out a small white porcelain bottle and set it down. But how do we make him drink it? Easy, she smiled. Let his sister-in-law pour it into his bowl while he eats. Great idea. The men's eyes lit up. Crash. The door flew off its hinges, kicked open from outside. Everyone jumped. I walked in slowly, my face dark and cold. The donkey demon is here. The men screamed. Granny Wang, hurry. Granny Wang sat calmly, eyes half closed, puffing her pipe. You donkey demon, why aren't you cultivating quietly in the mountains? What are you doing here? Aren't you afraid of meeting someone powerful and losing all your training? I frowned. Was this old woman crazy? Had she lied so much that she believed her own lies? Old woman, you could have just lived quietly. But no, you had to pretend to be some kind of witch. I don't care if you trick others, but you try to mess with me. I won't let that go. I pulled my small axe from behind my back and stepped forward. So you really are a donkey demon. I tried to warn you, but you wouldn't listen. Don't blame me for what comes next. Suddenly, I sensed danger. I swung my axe like a whirlwind. Shwup! A storm of tiny, sharp needles flew toward me, cutting through the air with a piercing sound. Luckily, my wood chopping had reached its highest level. I had mastered the secret technique, cleave. In my eyes, those flying needles looked just like pieces of wood waiting to be chopped. Clang, clang, clang. Sparks flew everywhere. I blocked every single needle with lightning speed. Some bounced back and struck her own men. They screamed and collapsed, their faces turning dark as they died on the spot. My eyes narrowed. Poison. With a roar, I charged straight at her. Her face changed. She hadn't expected a simple village boy to block all her needles. She jumped up and raised her pipe to defend herself. But I was too strong now. Crack. Thud. Her pipe snapped in two. A line of blood appeared on her forehead. Her eyes went wide in shock as my axe came down. She didn't even get to finish her last word. Expressionless, I pushed her body aside. Then I started searching the room for anything valuable. It was time to leave this village behind, but I wasn't leaving empty-handed. The old witch had been scamming people for years, and it turned out she had saved up quite a bit. I searched through her things and soon found a money box. I broke it open and stared inside. Piles of copper coins, plus several pieces of real silver. Rough count, tens of thousands of copper coins. Plus the silver, the total was worth over 20 taels. I grabbed a bag, dumped everything inside, and walked out without looking back. I didn't feel guilty at all. At first I only wanted to scare her and get a little money. But she had tried to kill me with poison needles. She brought her fate on herself. I went straight to find the village chief. When he saw me, his eyes nearly popped out of his head. My height had become something inhuman. It hadn't even been that long since we last met. What on earth happened to Li Ergu? His face seemed to say, could some spirit beast really have possessed him? When I told him I had killed Granny Wang, his face changed again. Granny Wang. She was a master at the second stage of foundation building. And you killed her. She was only at the second stage? I frowned. That sounded pretty weak to me. Yes, he said with a bitter smile. He was staring at me more and more strangely. My mind seemed clear. My speech was natural. I didn't look possessed at all. He must have been wondering if I had some rare kind of body. Li Dao, he said suddenly, there's a millstone in the yard. It weighs about 800 pounds. I used it for training when I was young. Try lifting it. All right. I walked into the yard, grabbed the heavy stone with my bare hand, and lifted it easily. It felt as light as a bucket of water. I raised it high above my head. The chief's eyes went wide. That's enough. Put it down. Thud. I dropped the stone back on the ground. It left a deep dent in the dirt. I turned to him, confused. To lift an 800-pound millstone means you've reached at least the third stage of foundation building, he said in a low voice. Li Dao, you might have a rare and extraordinary martial body. For ordinary people, this level would take 3 or 4 years of hard training, with many herbal baths. Missing even one step would make it nearly impossible. I just nodded, but inside I thought, extraordinary body? If only he knew. I was cursed by this strange world. Yet the curse wasn't all bad. As I grew bigger, my strength grew too. Maybe it was the curse clashing with the laws of heaven and earth, and my body was getting the benefits of that fight. Village chief, what about the 4th stage? I asked. The 10 stages of foundation building. The first 3 are just basics. The 4th stage is a real transformation. At that point, a body cultivator's blood and energy become solid. With one small movement, their power can reach 2,000 jin. By the 5th stage, it's 5,000 jin. The higher you go, the harder it becomes. He paused, remembering. When I served in the army, even most generals only reached the 5th or 6th stage. The 7th stage was extremely rare. My eyes lit up. 2,000 jin for the 4th stage? I had just lifted 800 jin with one hand without even trying. If I used all my strength, I might already be close. I told the village chief why I had come. I exchanged all my copper coins for silver. Carrying tens of thousands of coins would have slowed me down too much. The chief sighed. He knew he couldn't talk me out of leaving. He called a notary and bought my 5 acres of good land on the spot. In the end, I walked away with 32 taels of silver, a bag of dried food, and a final goodbye. Then I left Lijia village forever. 3 days later, the midday sun was blazing. Cicadas screamed in the quiet forest. I was shirtless, lying flat on a big blue rock, fanning my face with my palm. My muscles shone with a bronze color from the sweat. This crazy weather is too hot. And my dried food is almost gone. My mouth was so dry. I picked up my water bottle and gulped down more water. Lijia village really was stuck in the middle of nowhere. I had been walking for 3 whole days and hadn't even left the mountains. Part of it was because I didn't know the land well and kept getting lost. I opened my panel and checked. My weight had already reached 210 jin in just 3 days. This curse is really annoying. If it keeps going like this, breaking 500 jin will be no problem at all. But I had to admit, my strength and endurance had gone up again. If I slapped a normal person now, they'd probably die instantly from just that one hit. When the sun finally started to set, I grabbed my bag and kept moving. 2 more days passed. Finally, I reached a wide official road. I let out a long breath. Good. Just follow this road and I'll reach the city soon. But as I walked along, I noticed something chilling. The road was empty. Dead empty. Just like the village chief had warned me. I saw human skeletons scattered by the roadside. Some bones were still fresh, the smell of death hanging in the air. I passed several villages, but they were all ruined and abandoned, like no one had lived there for years. I didn't dare stop. I kept moving, going around each empty village. Another day passed. The sun beat down like fire. Even the cicadas went quiet. My dried food was gone. I was starving and thirsty. I sat down in the shade of a tree and stared at the empty road ahead. What kind of world was this? 2 whole days on this main road, and I hadn't seen a single person. Damn it, I muttered. I haven't even found a city yet, and I might starve to death first. The heat in July was brutal. At noon, it felt like the sun was peeling the skin off my body. I rested in the shade, planning to wait for nightfall before searching for food. I don't know how long I sat there. Then, suddenly, my ears twitched. I could hear something far away. Screams, frantic shouts, and then a deep, terrifying roar, like some huge beast was chasing a crowd. My face changed. I jumped off the rock, grabbed my bag and axe, and ran out of the woods. I burst through the trees and my eyes went wide. A few hundred refugees were running toward me in a wild panic. Men, women, children, all screaming and stumbling over each other. And behind them, a massive wild boar. Its body was covered in black bristles, about 4 meters long, over 1.70 meters tall. 2 huge, sharp tusks gleamed in the sunlight. It looked like a black tank barreling through the dust, kicking up rocks as it charged at the terrified crowd. My heart pounded. This world really was full of monsters after all. Monster! Run! Help! Someone save us! Heroes up front! Please save us! Bang, bang, bang. I watched in horror as the huge boar smashed through the refugees. People flew through the air like pieces of paper, screaming. Some were pierced right through by its massive tusks, hanging off the beast as it ran. My eyes went wide. This wild boar was almost a real monster. It was taller than a grown man. "YOW!" The boar screamed and charged forward wildly. But then I saw something that made my skin crawl. Its eyes flickered with something almost human, like it saw all these people as toys, and killing them gave it pleasure. Suddenly, its eyes locked on me. It ignored the fleeing crowd, and a strong gust of wind kicked up as it changed direction and charged straight at me. I guess a big 2-meter target looked more fun than ordinary refugees. And that look in its eyes, it was cunning. Like a human. My heart skipped. I quickly stepped back and dodged, gathering all my strength into my small axe. I swung it down with everything I had. Crack. The impact was so strong that the wooden handle snapped in half. Only the metal axe had stayed stuck in the boar's thick skin. Blood poured out. "YOW!" The boar let out a scream that nearly burst my eardrums. Its eyes turned bright red. It spun around and glared at me with pure fury, shocked that its toy had actually hurt it. I was shocked too. What a tough hide. My axe had barely cut through. This thing really was turning into a demon. Yow, boom. It charged at me again, faster than before. Dust and stones flew everywhere. Its huge hooves pounded the ground like drums. Those two sharp tusks were like swords aimed straight at my chest. I leaped aside, clenched my fist with every bit of power I had, and punched it in the waist. Die bang. The punch landed. The boar's muscles shook. The sound was dull, like hitting a huge copper drum. HHH. It roared in pain, eyes burning red. Then it whipped its head around, stabbing those deadly tusks straight at me. I didn't have time to dodge. I used a move called Double Dragon Going to Sea. My hands shot out like lightning and grabbed both of its tusks at once. I squeezed with all my strength, locking the creature in place. The boar squealed and thrashed its head wildly, trying to break free. But my hands were like iron clamps. It couldn't escape. I could feel the raw power in its body fighting against me. I roared and lunged forward, pushing with everything I had. My muscles burst with strength. Veins popped out all over my arms. I pushed the massive beast backward step by step. Its squeals got louder and louder. Its hooves scraped the dirt, throwing up clouds of dust. The refugees watching froze in place, their mouths hanging open. I tensed every muscle in my body. Oil like sweat poured down my skin. With one final roar, I lifted the entire boar clean off the ground. This thing was 4 meters long and weighed at least 2,000 G, and I was holding it above my head like a weapon. I slammed it down hard. Boom. The ground shook. Dust exploded in every direction. The boar squealed and flailed its legs helplessly. But I wasn't finished. I gripped its tusks tighter and swung it to the other side. Boom. Then the other way. Boom. 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 I smashed it against the ground over and over like I was beating a scarecrow. The earth trembled with every slam. The sound echoed through the forest. The refugees watched in complete silence. Their eyes were huge. I could tell none of them would ever forget this scene as long as they lived. Truly, a brave man, an old man in a blue scholar's robe whispered, trembling. After dozens of strikes, I finally stopped. I let go of the tusks and dropped to my knees, gasping for breath. My lungs burned like torn cloth. The boar lay on the ground, covered in wounds, bleeding from everywhere. Its body twitched weakly. It could barely breathe. Damn, I panted. Are all the wild boars in this world like this? If they are, how do normal people even survive? Hero? Thank you for saving us. The old man in the scholar robe suddenly cried out, kneeling before me. The other refugees snapped out of their shock and knelt down too. Thank you, hero, for saving us, they all shouted. I waved my hand, still panting. Get up, everyone. Stand up. The old man stood and bowed politely. Hero, my name is Gu Huaimin. I was once a small-town merchant. When bandits raided our town, I fled with my family. May I ask your name? I'm Li Dao. And I'm not a hero. I'm a refugee, just like you. Please, don't say that, Gu Huaimin said. With your strength, you could find a good place for yourself even in the big city. Really? I stroked my chin. Then I asked, Old sir, how far are we from the city? Not far. Less than 80 miles. We should arrive soon. My eyes lit up. So we can reach it before dark? If nothing goes wrong. Yes. Great. I grinned. As long as we reach the city, everything will be fine. If I had to wander in the wilderness even one more day, I thought I might lose my mind. Oh, and I'm starving. Do any of you have food? I'll trade you wild boar meat for whatever you can spare. You won't lose out, I promise. I was too tired and too hungry to cook the boar myself. I just wanted to eat something fast. Yes, yes. Everyone, quickly bring out your food, Gohuaimin called out. The refugees gathered around, pulling out whatever little food and water they had left. I didn't hesitate. I grabbed several big pancakes and shoved them into my mouth. I could eat as much as 8 grown men. I swallowed the pancakes like they were bubbles. One hard steamed bun after another disappeared into my stomach. The refugees stared at me with their mouths hanging open. My eating was almost as scary as the boar fight. Finally, I filled my belly and drank a whole pot of water. I patted my stomach. Thanks, old master. Do you have a knife? I'll share the meat with you. I took a waste knife from one of their guards, stabbed it into the boar's belly, and started cutting it open. A 2,000-pound boar, divided among hundreds of people. Everyone got a piece, and we finished dividing it fast. Since we'd reached the city before nightfall, spoilage wasn't a worry. All right, I said, wiping my hands. Let's keep moving. Yes, yes, Gohuami nodded. He gathered everyone, and we set off again. I folded up the large boar hide and slung it over my shoulder. I planned to sell it in the city for a nice price. But we had barely walked 30 miles when another group of refugees appeared on the road. Hundreds of them. Their faces were filled with sorrow and anger. Many were injured, limping, bleeding, and they were coming from the direction of the city. Gu Huaimin and the others stopped in their tracks. Friends, why aren't you going to the city? He called out. One of them broke down crying. Fengzhou City has been taken by the Yellow Turban Army. The gates are closed. No one is allowed near. We got too close and many of us were shot with arrows. We had to run. What? Gu Huaimin went pale. Gasps ran through our whole group. Fengzhou City had fallen to the rebels? Even I frowned hard. This was bad. Really bad. If the city was taken, where were we supposed to go now? Looking at the dark mass of refugees ahead, Li Dao felt very bad. Damn. Since coming down the mountain, it seems nothing has gone smoothly. Now, even the town of Lianzhou has been taken. What should we do? Old master, Fengzhou City has fallen. How long will it take us to reach the next city? Li Dao couldn't help asking. Gu Huaimin's face suddenly turned very bitter. He said, the next city is nearly 1,000 miles away. I'm afraid we might not make it halfway before bandits attack us or we die from hunger. That far. Li Dao frowned, looking even more worried. Are there any martial arts schools nearby? He was thinking of joining a school directly. With his current height, he wouldn't have trouble being accepted. There's one about a few hundred miles away, called the Diamond School, but it's still a long way. Gu Huaimin replied. Li Dao sighed silently. Everyone, with the chaos of the armies, heaven isn't giving us a chance. Maybe we should just join the army. Suddenly, someone in the crowd shouted angrily. I heard that the Yang army has a force nearby. Let's all go and join the Yang army. Hearing this, the crowd became excited. Yes, since we're all going to die anyway, better to join the army and maybe have a future. Better to die in the army than starving or being killed by monsters on the road. Let's all join the army. The crowd erupted in noise. Soon, a group led the way, and then a second and third wave of people followed. Li Dao's expression changed as he watched the large groups of people leaving. What they said made some sense. Since he had no other options now, he might as well join the army. After all, there should be martial arts training in the army. Old master, I'm also going to join the army. Let's part ways here. Li Dao was very decisive. He took a big step forward and headed into the distance. Gu Huaimin's face showed surprise. He quickly shouted loudly, "Be careful, brave one." Near dusk, they finally saw a medium-sized camp set on the hillside. The flags fluttered in the wind, and many soldiers were stationed there, all looking strong and sturdy. The leader of the soldiers is named Xiong Yud. He has dark skin and a full beard. He is skilled with a mountain axe shaped like a pear blossom. When he heard a large group of people approaching, he hurried over to check. But when he saw they were all just refugees, he relaxed a little. It seemed they were all people who couldn't survive nearby. Xiong Yud frowned and muttered, "Damn it. If you can't survive, you come to join the army, thinking that joining the army will save you. The Mountain Eye Guard is like a powder keg. If you come here, you might die even faster. General, what should we do? Should we turn them away? Asked a deputy named Sun Bao. Turn them away? No. Having so many people come to us is a good thing. The commander only gave us 300 men to defend this area. I've been worried every day. Now that so many are joining the army, it can help share the burden. Xiong said. Later, you open the gate and screen them. Don't let spies sneak in. Also, don't accept those who are too weak. General, what if we don't have enough supplies for so many newcomers? Sun Bao asked nervously. How long can the supplies last? Asked Xiong. About a month, replied Sun Bao. That's enough. We're about to change guards soon. We can distribute food daily. 1 bowl per person, enough to fill most of their stomachs. Yes, General, Sun Bao replied, saluting. Soon, the gate was opened. Sun Bao stood tall and strong, shouting loudly, Everyone be quiet. Those who want to join the Yang army, line up now for inspection. The refugees immediately became excited and quickly formed lines. At the front of the gate, a soldier sat on a chair, holding a brush, quickly asking questions and writing down answers. What's your name? Where do you live? Have you trained in martial arts? Can you carry the millstone next to you? As each question was asked, some people were accepted into the army, while others, too weak or too old, were screened out. They looked sad but had to leave. Soon, it was Li Dao's turn. The soldier who was asking questions was about to speak when suddenly he sensed a huge shadow covering everything, blocking his view of the desk. His face froze in surprise, and he quickly looked up. But when he looked up, he was immediately stunned. My name is Li Dao. Li, as in returning kindness with kindness. Dao, as in doing what's right. My home is outside Fengzhou City, in Li Family Gully. Li Dao's large body towered above him. His voice was deep as he looked down at the soldier and responded. Even when he stayed still, he carried an unspoken power, like a giant beast. Right now, he was shirtless, with dark skin and strong muscles all over his body. He was the kind of person who easily caught attention wherever he went. The soldier asking questions swallowed hard and looked at Li Dao in shock. He asked, Have you been in a fight? No. Li Dao shook his head. Have you trained in martial arts? The soldier asked again. A few days, maybe. Li Dao nodded. Good. The soldier nodded repeatedly, still stunned. Suddenly, he remembered and called out, Deputy General Sun. Sun Bao was lying in a woven chair, resting in the shade of a tree. When he heard someone calling him, he frowned, got up, and walked over. Just as he was about to ask what was happening, Sun Bao's face froze when he saw Li Dao. Wow, Deputy General Sun, look at this. The soldier who was taking notes quickly came over and asked eagerly. He had never seen someone as huge as Li Dao before. This was definitely a special case. He didn't dare make decisions easily. Man, what's your name? Sun Bao quickly asked again. I am Li Dao, here to serve the general. Li Dao's voice was deep, and he crossed his arms. Have you trained in martial arts? A few days of the ancestral long fist. Li Dao nodded. He was tired of these questions, but answered calmly. General, can I stay here? Yes, you can stay. Sun Bao nodded quickly. All right, come with me first. He was also impressed by Li Dao's terrifying size and decided to take him to see Xiong first. He is tall, but I have seen tall people before. However, someone as tall as Li Dao, with so much muscle on his body, is truly rare. Especially his skin, which looks like iron, full of explosive strength. This kind of extraordinary person, once wearing heavy armor, would dominate the battlefield and sweep through many enemies. Li Dao frowned and took a big step forward. As he passed by, the soldiers in the camp, like Sun Bao, were all surprised. Their eyes quickly focused on him, as if they were looking at a monster. When they looked at Li Dao also looked around the camp. The whole camp was smaller than he expected. It seemed just a temporary outpost. After a while, they finally reached a large tent. Sun Bao spoke first, shouting, General, there's a situation. Suddenly, the tent was pulled open. A broad-shouldered man with a thick beard and carrying a large axe rushed out and shouted, What's the situation? As he spoke, his pupils suddenly shrank, and he immediately noticed Li Dao nearby. Wow! Xiong was already very tall, about 1.84 meters, very sturdy, much taller than ordinary soldiers by half a head. But now, standing in front of Li Dao, he was actually 2 heads shorter. The strong contrast made Xiong Yid stare wide-eyed. He was about to ask something when Sun Bao quickly told him everything about Li Dao. Xiong Yud's eyes lit up as he stared at Li Dao. Kid, have you practiced the ancestors' long fist? Good, show me a set of the ancestors' long fist. Suddenly, he changed his mind and said, wait, forget it. Vice General Sun, you try this kid's strength yourself? Performing a set of martial arts doesn't clearly show Li Dao's true strength. It's better to have someone nearby test him directly. If he's truly capable, that would be the best. Yes, General. Sun Bao clenched his fists and looked at Li Dao with bright eyes, eager to try. He also wanted to see if this big guy was just all show or if he really had some skill. After all, Li Dao's muscles looked very intimidating. Are we going to fight now? Li Dao frowned and thought for a moment. He said, all right, I also want to learn from the experts in the army. To be honest, I joined the army to study more advanced martial arts. Brother Li Dao, you better be careful, Sun Bao warned, staring at him. I am a 4th-level expert in the true Qi Foundation stage. My specialty is eagle claw grappling techniques. Watch this, boom. Sun Bao suddenly lunged straight at Li Dao. A bright, dazzling blue light burst around him, and a sharp eagle cry echoed loudly. His speed was incredible. In a flash, he was right in front of Li Dao, tearing at his vital points with fierce force. It looked like a giant eagle swooping down from the sky. Li Dao's pupils shrank, and he instantly became alert. So this is what a true Qi expert can do. No wonder he's impressive. Come on then, Li Dao shouted loudly. He didn't dodge or block. His huge body moved forward directly, exuding a wild, fierce energy, like a beast attacking. He swung his fist, gathering all his strength. Veins bulged on his arms, muscles tensed like iron. His fist looked as big as a bowl. Bang! They collided fiercely. Li Dao didn't dodge. He kept swinging his fists wildly. Crack! 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 The sounds were heavy and loud. In an instant, they exchanged 6 powerful strikes, shaking the air and creating waves of force. That's fun, Li Dao shouted happily, feeling very excited and refreshed. He had never fought someone so evenly matched before. This was his first time going down the mountain to fight after mastering his martial arts. Just as he was gathering more strength to attack Sun Bao again, suddenly, Sun Bao's face turned red. He groaned and quickly stepped back, blood spilling from his mouth. He shouted in panic, "Stop! No more fighting! Stop, stop, stop!" Uffed, he spat out a large mouthful of blood and collapsed backward. Li Dao's expression changed. He immediately stopped. Everyone around was stunned, unable to believe what they saw. Xiong Yud reacted first, suddenly appearing in front of Sun Bao. He quickly helped him up, pressed on several acupoints to stop the bleeding, and performed a blood flow adjustment. Then he took out a pill and put it into Sun Bao's mouth. "Sun Bao, are you okay? Cough, cough, monster." "What kind of monster is that?" Sun Bao coughed up dark blood and widened his eyes. "He clearly hasn't cultivated qi and blood yet, but he still injured me, who is at the 4th level of Foundation Establishment, just by brute strength. The Foundation Establishment has 10 levels, and each level is very different from the next. He was at the 4th level of the Qi System Foundation Establishment, so he should be compared to someone at the 4th level of the Flesh Body System Foundation Establishment. In fact, people in the Qi system are sometimes stronger than those in the Flesh Body System, because the Flesh Body System is the least favored and most difficult of the 3 main systems. Its fighting techniques and movement skills are far inferior to the Qi system. But now, Li Dao has completely changed this gap. He injured him just with brute force. "Good kid. You're really impressive." Xiong Yud looked at Li Dao again, his eyes shining like he was looking at a treasure. This young man was already so strong before cultivating qi and blood. If he cultivates qi and blood, he might become even more terrifying. A hint of joy appeared in his heart. He said, "Li Dao, you can stay in my army. If you don't mind, how about being a frontline scout? The pay is 3 taels of silver a month, plus various medicines and food supplements. I promise you won't be treated unfairly." "Thank you, General." Li Dao clasped his fists. "Wait, General, we haven't checked this person's background thoroughly," Sun Bao quickly whispered. "What if he's a spy from the Yellow Turban Army?" "Don't worry, we can investigate later," Xiong Yud responded quietly, staring at Li Dao with increasing delight. He didn't believe the Yellow Turban Army would send such a fierce warrior as a spy. Someone like him is a treasure no matter where he is. Who would want to send him to be a spy? Suddenly, a loud, ear-splitting long howl came from not far away. Several dozen soldiers were quickly trying to control a wild black horse. The black horse looked very strange, almost like a beast. It was about 2 meters tall and over 4 meters long, with small, shiny scales covering its limbs. It had thick, black hair on its back that looked like shiny silk. Its voice was loud and thunderous, very loud to hear. When it ran, it was incredibly fast, crashing through everything in its way. It knocked over many soldiers, who screamed as they were thrown aside. Dozens of people couldn't get close to it. It could leap 7 or 8 meters in one jump, which was very impressive. This ink Chelan has gone crazy again. Quick, stop it. Don't let it run away. Don't hurt the ink Chelan. The crowd was in chaos. More and more soldiers rushed toward the black beast. But the beast, when angry, roared loudly and charged wildly, ignoring the soldiers and knocking them aside. Bad beast. Xiong Yud's eyes widened with anger as he shouted. Next to him, Sun Bao also shouted, "Quick, someone close the gate so it can't escape." Xiong Yud was about to rush out himself to try to tame the beast. But just as he was about to move, Li Dao had already leapt forward. He grabbed a hand-sized palm and quickly caught the reins of the beast, pulling hard. However, the beast was very strong, even stronger than a wild boar. When Li Dao pulled, he didn't stop the beast immediately. Instead, a powerful force surged into his body, almost pulling him off balance. Li Dao was shocked and didn't dare to hesitate. He suddenly used all his strength. "Come back here." The black beast let out a piercing neigh. When Li Dao pulled hard, he yanked it over. But that wasn't all. As he pulled, Li Dao's large hand quickly pressed down on the beast's neck, gathering strength. Down, boom. The huge beast was slammed to the ground by him. Its head hit the ground with a loud crash, and it let out a scream. The ground trembled slightly, sending dust and stones flying. The soldiers nearby, who were chasing, were all stunned. Even Xiong Yud was surprised and looked at Li Dao again. This guy? Could he be born with divine strength? This is a Jiao horse. It is incredibly strong, able to carry thousands of jin, a Chinese weight unit, effortlessly, and can leap over 10 meters in a single bound. Even those at the 4th level of Foundation establishment can't stop it. Li Dao actually caught it with just one hand. He took a deep breath, more amazed the more he looked at Li Dao. "General, what should we do with this strange horse? Should we kill it?" Li Dao pressed his hand on the strange horse, almost treating it like a wild pig, intending to kill it easily. Xiong Yud's face changed, and he quickly said, "No, this is a treasure given to me by the commanding officer." "Treasure?" "Yes." Xiong Yud showed a bitter smile and stepped forward, saying, "You don't know this, but this is a Jiao horse, a descendant of a dragon and a blood-sweating horse. It can travel 3,000 miles a day, cross mountains and rivers easily, like walking on flat ground. Unfortunately, this horse is very fierce and hard to tame. Since I got it, it has often gone into violent fits, and ordinary people find it almost impossible to get close." "I see." Li Dao understood and looked at the struggling, strange horse beneath him. He quickly loosened his grip, worried about hurting his beloved horse. A group of soldiers quickly gathered around, hurriedly grabbing the strange horse and pulling it down. The strange horse neighed loudly, its eyes red, constantly glancing at Li Dao, baring its teeth and seeming still defiant. "Please forgive Brother Li Dao for the trouble," Xiong Yud said. "It's nothing. I accidentally hurt the general's horse, which was my fault." Li Dao cupped his hands, then hesitated and asked, "General, I want to learn military martial arts. What conditions do I need to meet?" "Military martial arts?" Xiong Yud was surprised and shook his head. "Honestly, we only have a temporary outpost here, and there are no secret manuals stored. But if you don't mind, I can teach you myself." His eyes shone brightly and said, "As for the conditions, as long as I am willing to teach you, any conditions are fine." "Oh," Li Dao immediately gasped and looked at Xiong Yud. "Does the general know the bone shrinking skill?" "Bone shrinking skill?" Xiong Yud looked puzzled. "My body is still growing, and it will likely continue to get bigger. So I want to learn this martial art early, to prevent my body from becoming too large," Li Dao replied helplessly. Xiong Yud was stunned speechless. Li Dao has already grown so tall and frightening, and he can still keep growing? What a joke. "I can't do that. But in the future, I will take you to meet the general. The general has all kinds of martial arts, and I will ask for one for you. Xiong responded with a smile. Let's do this. First, eat your meal. After you're done, I'll talk to you about the martial arts. Thank you, General. Li Dao clenched his fists, feeling quite good about Xiong. Next, Xiong ordered Sun Bao to take Li Dao into the kitchen. Li Dao didn't hold back. He sat at the middle table and started eating fiercely. His eating stunned everyone in the kitchen. Even Sun Bao was shocked. He had seen good eaters before, but someone like Li Dao, who could eat so much, was the first time for him. He finished a whole basket of steamed buns in one bite each, swallowing them whole. Others ate buns, but he was drinking them. He also had baskets of sweet potatoes, which he didn't cook, but gnawed on raw. What kind of beast was this? With this eating style, they might run out of food before they even changed shifts. Shocked, Sun Bao quickly ran out to report to Xiong. Xiong's face also showed surprise. Can he really eat that much? Yes. Should we limit him? Sun Bao asked in shock. Limit him? No way. Such a fierce warrior isn't satisfied just with eating. If he's like this, will he still serve us when trouble comes? Xiong scolded. But this way of eating isn't a problem. Sun Bao's expression changed. Tell the Firehead army to reduce everyone's rations from now on, Xiong whispered. Yes, General, Sun Bao nodded. Wait, also investigate Li Dao's background, Xiong muttered. Although the enemy probably wouldn't send such a fierce person as a spy, it's better to be cautious. Sun Bao stepped back again. After eating a full meal, Li Dao finally felt satisfied and patted his stomach, letting out a big burp. He said, not bad. The treatment in the army is definitely better than in my mountain village. He stood up tall and went to find Xiong again. Xiong smiled and had been waiting for a while. He said, Brotherly, I see you have a strong body. You probably follow the physical training path, just like me. I practice the famous heaven-shaking axe technique and Bear's fierce body refinement skill. One is an attack skill, and the other is a tough body defense. Especially the Bear's fierce body refinement skill. When practiced to the extreme, it makes your body very strong, immune to weapons, and unaffected by water or fire. On the battlefield, it's considered top martial arts. With your talent, practicing this skill will be twice as effective. But today, let's focus on axe techniques. Do you have any experience with axe fighting? I only know how to split firewood. I've learned a little from chopping wood, but it's not enough to impress the general, Li Dao replied. Splitting firewood, Xiong chuckled and said, what kind of axe technique is that? My heaven-shaking axe technique is a real martial art. Do you know that martial arts have different levels? Not really. Please enlighten me, General, Li Dao asked. Xiong smiled slightly and raised a finger. Martial arts are generally divided into 4 levels: ordinary, authentic, superior, and divine. Each level has different power and effectiveness. Ordinary martial arts are common and not very powerful, like the Taizu long fist, 5 tigers breaking the gate saber, or iron cloth armor. These are basic martial arts. Authentic martial arts are more advanced, capable of showing some extraordinary power. They are usually taught by official sects, martial families, or obtained from the court. It's almost impossible to learn them through other means. For example, my heaven-shaking axe technique was granted by the court after I made great contributions. It's impossible to learn this outside. As for the superior martial arts, they are the most authentic, far more powerful than the authentic grade, martial arts. The final level, divine skill grade, is even more astonishing. These types of martial arts have gone beyond ordinary martial arts. Their power is unimaginable. Oh, Li Dao's eyes flickered. He didn't expect these martial arts classifications to be so profound. All right, let me tell you about my sky-shattering axe technique. This axe technique has 36 moves. It emphasizes being fierce and unstoppable, using strength to overpower others. The bigger the force, the better. The faster the speed, the better. Watch carefully. Whoosh. Xiong suddenly swung his axe, cutting through the air with a fierce wind. Dust and stones flew everywhere. His muscles tensed up completely, coordinating with his unique footwork. He moved like a swirling dragon wind, roaring loudly, breaking mountains with a strike, sweeping away armies, subduing dragons and tigers. The sun and moon lose their light. The world turns bleak. Demon spirits are slain. Each move was executed swiftly, his entire body full of violent energy, unstoppable. His breath roared like a storm, as if capable of breaking everything. Suddenly, a fierce whirlwind surrounded him, howling loudly and looking terrifying. Li Dao watched intently, unmoving. In an instant, Xiong Yud finished practicing all 36 moves of the sky-shattering axe technique. He paused again, planting his axe into the ground. His whole body radiated with fiery energy, like a furnace. He asked loudly, "How was that? Did you see clearly? Got the general idea?" Li Dao nodded. "No rush. There's plenty of time later. Practice slowly," Xiong Yud smiled. He then began breaking down each move, giving detailed guidance. Unfortunately, Li Dao lacked a suitable weapon, so he could only use a chopping axe meant for chopping wood. Xiong Yud patted his chest, promising that next time he would help Li Dao find a good weapon. With the support of the interface, after about half an hour, this axe technique appeared on the screen. Li Dao finally relaxed. However, he still hadn't given up on the Taizu long fist. Because the current Taizu Changquan has already been practiced to a very high level, he is eager to see whether, after reaching perfection, it will develop secret moves similar to chopping wood. 2 days quickly passed. By midday on the third day, Xiong Yud finally discovered Li Dao's background, which made him very happy. Li Dao indeed has a clean background. He is not a spy. He came over again, carefully checked how familiar Li Dao was with the axe techniques, and after confirming that Li Dao had memorized the main points, he then taught him the Xiong body refining divine skill. According to him, this Xiong body refining divine skill is also a genuine martial art, with strong defense and great power. The only downside is that training this skill is extremely painful. In the early stages, you have to carry heavy stones every day, climbing uphill against the current to strengthen your body. Once you can carry 1,000 gene stone to the top of the mountain in one breath without getting tired or out of breath, you then have to stand among the crowd and endure being beaten with iron sticks. After being beaten, you must immediately soak in medicinal liquid for cleansing. The pain during this process is beyond imagination. But for Li Dao, none of this is a problem. His body grows stronger every day, with increased density in his skin, muscles, and bones. He is like a monster, constantly transforming his physique. The so-called protective hard skills will only improve faster on him. Time passes. Half a month has gone by. With the help of the panel, Li Dao's strength has advanced rapidly. Besides making significant progress in Xiong body refining skill and tearing the sky and sea axe technique, he has also successfully perfected the Taizu Changquan. After reaching perfection, a faint flash appeared behind the Taizu Changquan, revealing a new inscription. Secret move Shock. As soon as this new secret move appeared, an unprecedented insight flooded Li Dao's mind, filling him with various punching techniques and angles. He was overjoyed. It seems, just as I thought, that any martial art, once perfected, can develop secret moves. He gently clenched his fist, feeling an incredible amount of power contained within it. But the only thing that made Li Dao frown and feel helpless was that his body kept growing sideways. Now, he weighed an astonishing 700 gene, about 350 kilograms. He had been gaining weight every day, and after practicing a tough skill called Bear's Body Refinement Technique, his muscles grew even faster. His appetite also became extremely large. Now, he could eat enough for more than 10 people in one meal. At this moment, he was 2.08 meters tall, weighed 700 gene, with thick arms, legs like elephant trunks, and palms as big as iron pots. His body was more than twice as large as when he first arrived. During this time, Xiong Yud had visited Li Dao several times. Each time, he saw that Li Dao seemed to have grown even bigger, which made him gasp in surprise and feel a bit scared. When he learned that the army's food supplies were running out quickly, he couldn't help but smile bitterly. The army didn't have much food left, and now with a monster like Li Dao, it was very hard to manage. But he didn't want to make Li Dao eat less easily. So, he had no choice but to send people down the mountain to find more food. Inside the tent, Li Dao looked at his thick waist, as wide as a water barrel, and frowned. He said, "Damn, my body is growing too fast. I can barely move now." Panel changed to vertical growth. The panel trembled slightly, and then returned to normal. He then looked at the data on the panel. Name, Li Dao age, 15 height, 2.08 meters weight, 700 gene identity, frontline scout of Xiong Yud's army mind technique. None martial skills. Axe cutting, ultimate skill, slash. Ancestor's long fist, ultimate skill, shake. Bear's body refinement technique entry level, 288/360, comma. Heaven and sea axe technique entry level, 180/360ths. Curse. Infinite growth. Your body will grow by 1 centimeter every day, with options for vertical, horizontal, or partial growth. I am now at least 2 or 3 times stronger than when I first arrived, but why haven't I condensed my chi and blood into a solid form yet? Li Dao wondered. As a physical martial artist, when reaching the 4th level of foundation establishment, chi and blood in the body turn into a solid, shining with a crimson glow, like mercury. But even after practicing so long, my energy and blood are still the same as ordinary people. This shows I am still far from reaching the 4th level of foundation building. Even though my strength is so powerful, I still can't form energy and blood. It's so frustrating. Suddenly, loud gong sounds come from outside, accompanied by frantic shouts. Enemy troops are coming. Enemy troops are coming. Hurry out. The gong sounds grow even more urgent. Li Dao's face changes. He quickly gets up from his bed, grabs a black axe on one side, and rushes out swiftly. The entire camp is in chaos. Everyone is rushing out toward the fence outside. Xiong Yud was already at the fence first. When he sees countless soldiers outside wearing yellow scarves and looking strong, his eyes narrow in shock and anger. It's the Yellow Turban Army. These beasts. Archers, prepare. Squeak, squeak. Some archers nearby quickly string their bows, aiming large arrows outside. Under Xiong Yud's angry shout, they release the arrows swiftly. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A rain of arrows shoots out densely, flying toward the outside. There are screams everywhere. But the yellow turban soldiers are too many, covering the mountain and fields. Soon, more arrows come flying in, even denser, hitting the camp and causing heavier casualties. Many skilled fighters among the yellow turbans abandon their horses, use light skills, and rush forward like ghosts, too fast for normal arrows to hit. Some top experts in light skills quickly reach the front, jump over the fence, and attack the confused crowd. Xiong Yud's eyes turn red. He becomes furious and swings his pear blossom mountain axe, charging at the breakthrough fighters. The fight becomes chaotic instantly. As Xiong Yud's defense collapses, more yellow turban soldiers rush in from outside. Leading them is a soldier holding a thick dragon spear, wearing silver armor and helmet, riding a white dragon horse. He laughs loudly and says, "You little ones, come kill. The treasures inside the camp are waiting for us." Boom. He rode a powerful dragon horse that leapt over 10 meters with ease. Combined with his fierce energy, he quickly shattered the remaining broken gate and charged into the crowd. He wielded a long spear that moved like falling snowflakes, instantly killing more than 10 people. It was as if he was in a place with no enemies. Where he passed, many soldiers were knocked back and flew through the air. People screamed loudly as if paper had been torn apart. After killing a top fighter from the Yellow Turban Army, Xiong Yud suddenly saw the man riding a white dragon horse. He shouted angrily, "Bai Yunlong die!" He swung his axe, a big axe called the Pear Blossom Mountain Cleaving Axe, and rushed toward the man in silver armor and helmet. The dragon horse beneath him didn't have time to react. It was forced to resist with its body, trying to withstand the opponent's strength. In fact, his black dragon horse didn't listen to him at all. It often failed at critical moments. In this life-and-death situation, he couldn't bother to ride the horse. He just wanted to rely on his own strength to stop the enemy. "Bai Yunlong, do you think you can stop me?" "You're dreaming." The man on the white dragon horse shouted loudly. His thick spear shimmered with a bright purple light, like lightning, and he directly struck at Xiong Yud's head. At the same time, the dragon horse beneath him suddenly charged forward, aiming to crash into Xiong Yud. He was already highly skilled, and now, riding the horse, his power was unstoppable. Boom. With a loud bang, Xiong Yud was hit hard, groaning loudly. He retreated repeatedly. It was like an explosion between the two, with flying dust and stones, and a deafening sound. "Ha ha!" Bai Yunlong laughed loudly, urging his dragon horse to charge at Xiong Yud again. Xiong Yud roared in anger, and quickly swung his axe to block. Meanwhile, Li Dao, holding a short-handled axe, rushed out quickly. As soon as he appeared, he saw 3 or 4 skilled fighters wearing yellow turbans rushing toward him. "How dare you!" he shouted loudly, swinging his axe to strike at them. His 700 gene weight does not refer to fat. It means he is covered in muscle, huge and fierce, with bulging veins, and his skin is dark and shiny. He looks like a human-shaped demon dragon. With a loud roar, his terrifying presence makes the 4 yellow turbaned soldiers charging forward all change their faces in shock. Wow, what is that? How could such a creature exist among Bear Yud soldiers? After a brief surprise, Li Dao's body suddenly surged forward like a flood, wielding his axe and swinging it down fiercely. The air around him roared loudly, like an explosion. The 4 figures quickly dodged, using their best agility to avoid him. But Li Dao's speed was also very fast. His large size didn't slow him down at all. After missing with his first strike, he spun around like lightning and swept across, so fast that dust and stones flew everywhere in front of him. Thud! Ah! The sound of the axe echoed loudly, carrying immense power. It sliced through the waist and abdomen of a yellow turban expert. The expert had just jumped up when he was cut in half, screaming loudly as his body flew apart. "Second brother!" The other 3 shouted angrily and sadly. After the first strike, Li Dao quickly followed with a second, third, and fourth strike, attacking the 3 below him rapidly. He used the heaven and earth-shattering axe technique. The remaining 3 were all shocked and felt an indescribable terror. They dared not face him directly, only dodging and jumping around in panic, while shooting hidden weapons quickly in an attempt to kill Li Dao. But Li Dao's axe technique was too fast. His axe wind howled loudly, knocking away all the hidden weapons, and his axe strikes covered the 3 men. The gusts of axe wind made their scalps and cheeks sting painfully. Damn it! What kind of monster is this? All of them were at the 4th level of Foundation establishment, experts. They were not just ordinary soldiers. The 3 wanted to shout in anger, but under the terrifying attack, they couldn't say a word. In the blink of an eye, all 3 were struck by Li Dao's axe, screaming in pain. All 3 figures were dismembered on the spot, blood and internal organs flying everywhere. Li Dao didn't stay long. He grabbed his axe and charged forward again. When he saw countless yellow turban soldiers rushing out from the mountain below, he suddenly felt that his axe was too small and awkward to use properly. After quickly killing a few soldiers blocking his way, he hurried to the area where the banner with the tooth-shaped emblem was planted. He threw away his axe and grabbed the long banner pole, which was over 10 meters long and as thick as a man's thigh. Without hesitation, he swung the entire pole like it was nothing, wildly sweeping it toward the crowd. "Anyone who blocks me will die," Li Dao shouted loudly, his arms seeming to contain endless strength. He swept through the army. Bang! 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 Ah! One by one, the advancing yellow turban soldiers were knocked back and screamed in pain. Their bodies were as fragile as scarecrows, unable to withstand his attack. Li Dao's strength was now incredible. He swung a flagpole weighing hundreds of gene, a Chinese weight unit, feeling no heaviness at all, only lightness and agility. Combined with his 700 gene body weight, he looked like a furious, mighty figure. He swept through the crowd fiercely, unstoppable. Soldiers from all directions were shocked and looked back in fear. What a terrifying man! How could such a fierce general serve under this brave man? "Kill him quickly! Use hidden weapons!" A group of yellow turban soldiers shouted loudly. More than 10 experts threw out fine needles and darts toward Li Dao. Some quickly shot a barrage of crossbow arrows. Li Dao's face changed. He hurriedly dropped his banner pole and grabbed 2 corpses from the ground, using them as weapons. He moved swiftly, making a whistling sound, retreating and dodging at the same time. Then he shouted angrily, threw the corpses like hidden weapons, and smashed them toward the experts shooting needles and darts. Bang! 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 He hit and killed many instantly. But that wasn't the end. Li Dao quickly picked up 2 more corpses and threw them again. As he dodged and grabbed more bodies, he kept throwing them, smashing all the experts who shot needles and darts to death. He charged forward again, rushing into the crowd. With both hands, as big as iron pots, he suddenly grabbed 2 living men, pulling them up. They screamed in terror, and he used their bodies as weapons, smashing them around wildly. Oh! Suddenly, screams filled the air, and blood splattered everywhere. Large groups of the yellow-turbaned soldiers were killed by him. Such scenes were truly shocking. At this moment, Li Dao was truly unstoppable. During this process, some people did manage to stab him with weapons. But unfortunately, his skin and flesh were incredibly tough. Even steel blades or spears only left shallow wounds. The pain was there, but it couldn't cause serious harm. This made Li Dao feel completely at ease. Bang, bang, bang. He slaughtered the yellow-turbaned soldiers, who cried out in pain as their bodies flew through the air like paper in the wind. In just a moment, hundreds had died. Suddenly, someone shouted angrily and leapt out from the chaos, using light skills to rush toward Li Dao. Their whole body gathered true energy, shining with a bright blue glow. They swung a powerful palm strike at Li Dao. Blue Spirit Palm. Li Dao was busy throwing corpses around when he saw the attack coming. He immediately dropped a body, gathering all his strength. His muscles and veins bulged fiercely. Great Ancestor Fist. Boom. Crack. When fists collided, a terrifying wave of energy burst out. The expert from the Yellow Turban Army let out a scream as the blue glow in their palm was shattered by Li Dao's punch. The force surged into their arm, breaking it instantly. White bones pierced through flesh, emerging from behind the opponent's shoulder. The intense pain nearly made this expert faint. After punching, Li Dao charged forward again. Using his large size, he threw another punch at the opponent's forehead before they could react. Bang! Blood and brain matter splattered everywhere. The opponent, about 1.70 meters tall, was knocked back and crashed into the crowd, dying instantly. Li Dao looked around calmly, unshaken. He strode forward again, grabbing 2 more yellow-turban soldiers and swinging them wildly. The entire Yellow Turban Army was once again thrown into chaos, with screams ringing out everywhere. While struggling to withstand Bai Yunlong's attack, Xiong Yud heard the commotion and turned around. His face lit up with joy, and he shouted loudly, "Li Dao, stop them quickly! Don't let them get to the back mountain." Li Dao heard the shout and looked around quickly. He soon saw a group of yellow-turban soldiers rushing forward, heading toward the area behind the camp. At the same time, the Yang army was retreating step by step, with only a few dozen soldiers led by Sun Bao holding their ground. It seemed there was an important secret in the back mountain that needed protection. Li Dao immediately took 2 huge steps, like a giant monster, rushing quickly toward that direction. "Die!" Li Dao shouted angrily. He casually threw a corpse, which had long been turned into a bloody mess, into the chaotic yellow-turban soldiers ahead. With a loud bang, he killed many more enemies. Then, like a fierce tiger descending the mountain, he picked up 2 long swords from the ground and charged into the crowd. "Kill him! Stop that monster!" A large number of yellow-turban soldiers shouted angrily. But Li Dao, with his swords in hand, became even more terrifying. He slashed wildly, causing screams of pain. In a blink of an eye, he had killed dozens of enemies, and his swords were covered with deep cuts. Meanwhile, Bai Yunlong, wielding a dragon spear and fighting with Xiong Yud, looked furious and surprised. Although he had left 7 or 8 spear wounds on Xiong Yud still held on tightly, preventing Bai Yunlong from rushing to help Li Dao. Bai Yunlong shouted angrily and used his ultimate move again. His dragon spear shook, creating dozens of shadow images so dense that it was hard to tell real from fake. Amidst Xiong Yud's difficult defense, he struck Xiong Yud's shoulder again. This time, Bai Yunlong lifted Xiong Yud high into the air. Xiong Yud let out a painful cry, blood pouring out, and he could no longer hold his axe, which fell from his hands from the height. The white flood dragon horse next to him let out a deafening neigh, standing tall and making Bai Yunlong look even more terrifying, like a divine being descending from the heavens. Li Dao, who was busy fighting and killing everywhere, suddenly heard Xiong Yud scream. He immediately turned around to look, and his pupils shrank. "General," he shouted urgently. "Li Dao, run quickly. Don't mind me." Bear Yud cried out in pain. Bai Yunlong's eyes showed a hint of cruelty. Suddenly, he sneered and urged his dragon horse forward, quickly charging with Bear Yud on top, heading straight toward Li Dao. The dragon horse beneath him also looked very excited. It understood its master's plan and let out a loud neigh, its explosive strength as fast as a whirlwind. Trying to save your master? Then you all go to death together. Bai Yunlong carried Bear Yud and fiercely charged toward Li Dao. Li Dao, be careful. Don't fight back recklessly. Sun Bao's eyes widened in alarm as he shouted loudly. Puff, puff, puff. Several knives suddenly slashed at him, causing him to scream in pain. He quickly turned around to defend himself. Li Dao saw Bai Yunlong carrying Bear Yud's body and smashing toward him with force. He was shocked and angry, but suddenly, his huge body twisted and narrowly avoided Bai Yunlong's attack. At the moment of escape, one of his palm-sized hands had already grabbed the opponent's spear tip, forcing it to stop its downward strike. Meanwhile, his other large hand clenched into a fist and struck the face of the dragon horse fiercely. Bang! Yawn! The punch carried immense strength, causing the dragon horse to let out a piercing cry. Its face seemed about to be shattered, and its eyes turned red, feeling dizzy and disoriented. Li Dao then roared loudly, both hands gripping the spear tightly, suddenly exerting all his strength. Get down! His muscles suddenly bulged, his skin shining with a terrifying bronze glow, radiating immense power. The enemy general on the dragon horse's back changed color, sensing an incredible force from the tip of his spear, as if trying to lift him off the horse. He was both surprised and angry. His true energy surged to the limit, and his entire body shimmered with a brilliant purple light. He held his spear tightly, competing with Li Dao's strength. Throughout this, Bear Yud's body was still carried on the spear, his face full of shock. How long had it been? Li Dao's strength was already so terrifying? Could he really fight against Bai Yunlong in terms of power? Bai Yunlong roared angrily, but in the struggle of strength, he couldn't win against Li Dao. His hands loosened, and the dragon's spear was snatched away by Li Dao. He rode a flood dragon horse, suddenly leaped forward, and quickly charged out, shouting loudly, "Spear!" Swish! A soldier from the Yellow Turban Army had already thrown a new spear into his hand. After Li Dao took the dragon's spear, he quickly retreated, taking more than 10 steps back before stopping. He hurriedly placed the dragon's spear and Xiong Yud on the ground. "General, are you okay?" he asked. "I'm fine. Be careful, Bai Yunlong," Xiong Yud replied, trying to hide his shock. "Li Dao, catch the weapon." Suddenly, Sun Bao, covered in blood and enduring pain, threw the mountain axe he had previously dropped at Li Dao quickly. Li Dao's eyes flashed. His large body rushed out swiftly, grabbing the mountain axe. Holding the weapon, he felt a surge of powerful confidence. At this moment, Bai Yunlong had already urged his flood dragon horse to charge forward at full speed, as fast as the wind. The horse beneath him let out a deafening neigh, eyes filled with madness and hatred, determined to crush this human into mud. Li Dao's heart suddenly became extremely calm. His gaze sharpened, and his large steps moved quickly forward. In his eyes, it seemed nothing else existed, only a huge, moving piece of wood. Secret technique, split. Boom. He swung the mountain axe, producing a piercing scream, and fiercely struck toward Bai Yunlong. The axe blade looked like a shooting star, giving a sense of dark clouds covering the sky. Bai Yunlong originally intended to stab Li Dao's heart with his spear, but faced with Li Dao's fierce strike, his expression changed. He dared not continue stabbing forward. In a critical moment, he had to quickly swing his spear to block. Clang! Boom! A loud explosion sounded, air currents roared, and sparks flew in the air. It was like two huge meteors colliding. Bang! Bai Yunlong let out a muffled groan. His tiger claws shattered, and his spear almost slipped from his hand due to a terrifying force, bending under the impact. He was deeply shocked. What kind of monster is this? But that was not the end. After Li Dao swung his axe, he immediately followed up with another powerful strike, producing a loud, heavy, terrifying sound that echoed like a howling wind, full of momentum. Bai Yunlong's face turned pale with shock. He quickly controlled his dragon horse and leapt away swiftly to dodge. However, Li Dao's body seemed to follow him like a shadow. His huge battle axe swung again and again, making roaring sounds like a fierce storm, sweeping directly toward his body and his horse below, like a whirlwind. He used the heaven-shattering axe technique. He struck with the power to move mountains. He swept away thousands of enemies. He subdued dragons and tamed tigers. The sun and moon lost their light. Boom, 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 boom. In an instant, he launched more than 10 attacks in a row. It was like a fierce storm tearing through the sky and earth. Every strike produced a sharp, terrifying roar that made the air tremble. Bai Yunlong was forced to keep dodging, shocked and helpless, with no way to fight back. After dodging more than 10 attacks, he finally had to quickly block with his spear. Crack! Clang! Another loud explosion sounded, sparks flying everywhere. Bai Yunlong's weapon could no longer hold, slipping from his hands and flying high into the air. A wild, violent force surged into his body, making him even more terrified. He dared not stay any longer, quickly pulling on his horse's reins and leaping about 10 meters away. Retreat! Everyone retreat! Bai Yunlong shouted loudly, bloodstained hands. He looked like he had seen a ghost. How could he, the bear, have such a fierce warrior under his command? The yellow-turbaned soldiers, who were fighting fiercely, were all shocked. Without hesitation, they hurriedly fled down the mountain in a rush. Where do you think you're going? Li Dao waved his axe and stepped forward, charging straight into the crowd. The remaining soldiers were even more energized, shouting and fighting fiercely as they chased after him. Kill them! Charge! Only Xiong Yud's face turned pale. He couldn't help but shout repeatedly, "Don't chase the desperate enemies. Don't chase them." Far up the mountain path, a large group of yellow-turbaned soldiers were fleeing in disarray, all looking pale and exhausted, with heavy losses. Many called out to friends, crying out loud, looking extremely miserable. Looking around, most of them had lost more than half their comrades, and those remaining were mostly wounded. Damn it, the intelligence was wrong. How could such a monster appear under Bear Yud's command? One deputy officer gritted his teeth, looking angry and sad. Li's 4 brothers are dead. Wulong from Kaoshang Fei is dead. Third Lord Qinggang is dead. We lost so many people just to deal with one Bear Yud. How can we explain this to the commander? Another deputy shouted angrily. At the front, Bai Yunlong, riding a dragon horse, looked very unhappy. His hands were burning with pain, and he was still bleeding. Don't worry. The Yellow Turban Army won't let him go. We didn't eliminate Bear Yud this time, but we did find out secrets about his camp. They really found the Yanyan mine here. Now, let's report this to the commander. Bai Yunlong clenched his teeth. Sharing such important secrets, even the commander won't punish us. Yes, tell the commander. Once the commander knows, he will lead a big army here. Let's go. The group moved quickly again. Inside the camp, a large number of bodies were being carried away and quickly cleaned up. Some injured people were being helped and bandaged, looking pained. Bear Yud's face was very pale. The dragon spear in his left shoulder had been taken out, but he still couldn't calm down. Li Dao's strength had increased too quickly. Bai Yunlong was a 5th-level foundation building expert, using a true energy system. His true energy was deep and terrifying. Was he really defeated by Li Dao? Hero, you are truly a hero. Bear Yud held back his shock and asked, Li Dao, are you hurt? Thank you for your concern, General. It's just some superficial wounds. Li Dao shook his head. He had applied herbal ointments to several places on his body, and he had returned the Pear Blossom Mountain Axe to Bear Yud. Li Dao, when I was in trouble, did you ever think about escaping? Bear Yud couldn't help but ask. Thinking honestly, the enemy army was strong, and as the leader, he was exposed to danger. Anyone else might have lost their fighting spirit and fled. But Li Dao didn't run away. Instead, he risked his life to save him. General, your kindness is as heavy as a mountain. I would never abandon you. Don't mention it again, Li Dao said in a deep voice. All right. Bear Yud felt very grateful, and his good impression of Li Dao grew even stronger. He said, by the way, I will write a letter to the commander now, to inform him of the situation here, and also ask him to help you cast armor and weapons. Suddenly, his eyes flickered, and he whispered, Li Dao, do you know the secret about the back mountain of our camp? What secret? Li Dao asked with confusion. Bear Yud sighed and whispered, honestly, we found a very rare mineral on the back mountain of our camp. It's called Yanyan stone. This Yanyan stone is an excellent material for making Yanyan pills. These pills are very helpful for those practicing true energy. Taking one can save at least several days of hard training. Oh, Li Dao looked surprised and said, so, the Yellow Turban Army was also after this Yanyan mine? Yes, They must have discovered the mine too, which is why they attacked so aggressively. But that group of people was only a small part of the Yellow Turban Army. They suffered a big loss here, and I think they will report back to their leaders soon. When that happens, we will be in big trouble, Beryud whispered. So, for now, I can only report to the general quickly and ask him to think of a solution. I will include your recent achievements in the report. Even if the general finds out, he will surely reward you greatly. Wait, General, if the Yellow Turban Army is so bold, why hasn't the court sent people to wipe them out? Li Dao asked his biggest doubt. The court. Beryud shook his head lightly. The court has long given up on us. The world is in chaos, and the emperor has ordered local guards to recruit soldiers and fight bandits on their own. They can't control us. Let local forces recruit soldiers? Li Dao was surprised. Aren't they afraid that local people will rebel? Once local forces have military power, it's hard to make them listen to the emperor's orders. Beryud's face was complicated. He looked at Li Dao. It was clear he didn't expect Li Dao, with his clever mind, to think of this level of problem. He sighed softly and said, "The world is already full of wounds. The emperor can't manage everything. It's like patching the east wall after tearing down the west wall. The emperor just wants to get through this crisis first. As for local rebellions, we'll think of a way later. If we can't get through this crisis now, what does it matter if the local forces rebel? Moreover," he gently pondered and said, "Actually, the situation in the world is far beyond your expectations. Let me tell you, the Yellow Turban Army we saw earlier is actually a powerful force with a long history. Our court is called the Great Zhou Dynasty, but in reality, it is just a secondary imperial court. Within the dynasty, martial arts sects are numerous and powerful, holding great influence. During the peak of the Great Zhou Dynasty, no sect dared to rebel. But now, inside the imperial court, there have been disasters that haven't happened in hundreds of years. People are suffering everywhere, bandits are rising, and the land is scarred. These martial sects can no longer be suppressed and are starting to rise. The Yellow Turban Army originally came from a large religious group called the Sacred Fire Sect. The sect has many experts and operates mysteriously. 2 years ago, they suddenly rebelled. In just 2 years, 4 or 5 groups of Sacred Fire Sect rebels have appeared across the land. They gathered armies, seized cities, and called themselves the Yellow Turban Army. Their numbers have now exceeded 1 million. The leader of the Yellow Turban Army wandering around our Fengzhou area is named Li Rufeng. He is extremely powerful, said to have reached the legendary Heavenly Martial Realm. His face showed a hint of shock and faint fear. Heavenly Martial Realm? Li Dao asked. Yes, for those in the true energy system. After completing the 10 levels of foundation building, the next realm is the Heavenly Martial Realm, Xiong Yud replied. For those with a physical body system, after the 10 levels of foundation building, they are called Demon Martial Realm. Take our Fengzhou's General Yang Yulong, for example. He's only at the 10th level of true energy, compared to Li Rufeng. He's like an underground figure compared to the sky. Completely incomparable. The gap is so big. Li Dao was surprised. Stay humble, stay humble. Xiong Yud quickly waved his hand and whispered. So now, the general is also in a difficult position. The court has issued multiple orders for him to suppress the rebellion quickly. But Li Rufeng's cultivation is so terrifying, and he has the help of Sacred Fire Sect experts. Plus, he commands over 100,000 troops. Who can defeat him? If that's the case, why not take the opportunity to rebel yourself? After all, this emperor is unpopular. Such a brainless ruler. Why serve him? Li Dao said coldly. Beryud was startled and quickly said, Please don't mention this topic in front of the general. The general is very loyal to the court, and anyone who dares to advise him to rebel will be cut down. Really? Li Dao frowned. Is he still a blindly loyal person? What should we do next? He asked further. I don't know. Let's report the news here first, Beryud said with a complicated look. But don't worry, the general cares about his soldiers and would never joke about their lives. He will probably tell us to abandon this place directly. Beryud quickly left to write a letter to the general. Li Dao continued practicing in the camp. 2 more days passed peacefully. Li Dao was bored in the camp, and his body kept growing taller rapidly. After 2 days, he reached 2 meters and 10 centimeters. His weight also increased by another 10 jin, reaching 710 jin. Meanwhile, The Bear Shashue body refining technique finally advanced from the initial stage, 288 out of 360, to the intermediate stage, 340/360, getting closer to great success. I think I can faintly feel a wave of energy and blood movement, he thought. He frowned and carefully sensed the changes in his body. He clenched his fist hard, and thick blood vessels appeared on his arm, dense and twisting like a dragon. A warm current flowed inside him, as if standing by a fire in the cold winter, very comfortable. His muscles felt like giant snakes. His energy and blood felt like a furnace. This was a sign of reaching the fourth stage of foundation building. However, his energy and blood were still thin and couldn't fully circulate through his body. He hadn't truly reached the fourth stage of foundation building yet. So, I am just one thin layer away from the real fourth stage. Maybe if I improve the Bear Shashue body refining technique a bit more, I can fully circulate my energy and blood, he thought to himself, feeling he had grasped an important key. Next, Li Dao worked hard to practice again. Every day, he carried heavy stones to strengthen his body. Due to the curse, his strength was increasing every day. In the blink of an eye, another 2 days passed. That day, Li Daopan sat inside the medicine barrel, his upper body bare. His whole body was completely still, covered with thick, winding blood vessels that looked like giant snakes. He appeared fierce and terrifying beyond words. His skin gradually turned bright red, as if burned by a hot iron. A strong, wild energy kept emanating from him, causing the barrel below to bubble and boil. People outside the tent were all shocked, sensing an intense, dangerous aura. They looked toward the tent, feeling as if a fierce beast was hiding inside. Is Li Dao about to break through the fourth level of foundation establishment? Sun Bao, passing by, looked surprised and stared at the tent. Before breaking through, Li Dao had already defeated experts at the 5th level. If he succeeds now, he might even challenge the 6th level. Shocked, Sun Bao quickly ran out to report to Xiong Yud. When Xiong Yud heard that Li Dao was about to break through, he was also surprised. He hurried over and stood outside Li Dao's tent. God, what kind of monster is this? He muttered. Why does such a terrifying aura appear during a breakthrough? But he didn't dare disturb Li Dao recklessly. He ordered everyone around to step back and clear the space, so as not to cause any noise or distraction. Xiong Yud led a group of people to wait quietly nearby. Soon, more than an hour passed. Finally, the terrifying, fierce energy inside the tent began to fade quickly, like a tide receding. Xiong Yud was the first to react. He smiled and asked, Li Dao, have you successfully broken through? How does it feel to reach the 4th level? Feelings. A loud buzzing sound came from inside the tent, like a giant bell ringing. Li Dao's voice said, I feel like my body has become bigger. Bigger? Xiong Yud's face froze. But soon, the tent opened suddenly. His eyes widened in shock. Wow. Sun Bao and others nearby were also stunned, their faces full of amazement. They stepped back in fear, lifting their heads in awe. Oh my God! A soldier shouted in terror. At this moment, Li Dao frowned. His body was tall and muscular, powerful and intimidating, at least 2 meters 40 tall. His shorts now looked even shorter on him. He was in a terrible mood. Terrible. No one had told him that after a breakthrough, a body cultivator's physique would grow so much. Looking at his now even larger hands and arms, he sighed helplessly and turned his eyes to the panel before him. Name, Li Dao. Age, 15. Height, 241 centimeters. Weight, 410 kilograms. Position, Vanguard under Xiong Yud. Inner technique, none. Martial skills, wood splitting, essence, cleave, Grandmaster's fist, essence, shock, Bear Fiend body refinement, mastery 20/480, heaven turning axe technique, advanced 330/360, curse, infinite growth. Your body increases by 1 centimeter each day. You may choose to grow taller, wider, or in specific areas. Originally, his height should have been around 212 centimeters according to the curse's growth rate. But after condensing his blood energy, he suddenly reached 241 centimeters, an increase of 29 centimeters. No one could truly understand how he felt. Could this person be something other than human? For the first time, Xiong Yud looked uncertain. But soon he took a deep breath and asked, Li Dao, how do you feel now? Feel? Li Dao's deep voice rumbled. He clenched his fist, and a red glow flared in his palm like fire. I feel stronger. And hungrier. Hungrier? Xiong Yud was startled. Quick, prepare food. Li Dao immediately strode toward the kitchen. After his breakthrough, his energy was drained, and hunger overwhelmed him. He began to eat without restraint. He ate enough for 14 people. Everyone watching was stunned, speechless with shock. We can't afford to feed him. Really can't. Xiong Yud's mind buzzed as he muttered to himself. At this rate, how many days could the camp's food supply last? At that moment, someone suddenly reported quickly, General, reinforcements have arrived. I saw General Xiaoho's troops already at the foot of the mountain. Reinforcements are here. Xiong Yud's face lit up with joy. He said, Come on, follow me to meet the reinforcements. He turned and headed outside immediately. Just then, Li Dao, who had just finished a basket of steamed buns, also stood up. He patted his stomach, feeling about 80% full but satisfied, and immediately followed Xiong Yud. At the foot of the mountain, Xiahou Feng was tall and strong, with dark skin and a full beard. He had only one eye, and his face looked fierce and intimidating. He was riding a huge, 2-meter-tall dragon horse with scales on its limbs. He held a long spear and looked around at his officers with a cold voice, saying, When we reach General Xiong's camp, do as I say. This time, Xiong Yud has made a big contribution, and we can't let him outshine us. In his letter to the commander, he claimed to have a brave new general, tall and strong, unmatched in the world. But I don't believe it. You are all carefully chosen by me. I want to show him what a real brave general looks like. Yes, sir. Rest assured, General. We will cooperate fully. All obey the general's orders. The officers around him shouted in unison. Each of these riders on their war horses was over 1.8 meters tall, muscular and imposing, with proud expressions on their faces. Their heavy armor made them look almost untouchable. Big size. So what? They were all very large. How much bigger could they get? Please support with monthly tickets and recommendations to help increase exposure. Let's aim for the new book rankings to get more visibility. Also, if you can invest, please do so. More investors mean more exposure. Thank you all. Inside the camp, Xiong Yud was fully armored, holding a large axe, and looking down toward the foot of the mountain. He saw a large group of people rushing toward them, about a few hundred in total. Except for the leader, who was riding a huge dragon horse, the rest were on ordinary horses. When they got close enough, Xiong Yud waved his hand loudly to signal, then shouted, Open the camp gates. They are our people. A group of soldiers quickly opened the tightly closed gate. Xiahou Feng led the charge, rushing forward first. He pulled hard on the reins, causing his fierce horse to neigh loudly. He shouted, Deputy Commander Xiong, the general has ordered us to return immediately. We are abandoning the Yanyan mine and will bury it with explosives before leaving. After speaking, he looked directly at the crowd and asked, Who is Li Dao? Step forward so I can see. Before he finished, his eyes suddenly shrank, and he fixed his gaze on Li Dao, who was about 2 meters 4 tall and weighed around 820 jin. Xiahou Feng was stunned. What is that? Wow. Could this be some kind of wild boar turned into a monster? How is it so big? Li Dao heard this and frowned. His huge body suddenly stepped out from behind him, exuding a heavy, oppressive aura. His arms were thick, his waist broad, like a human-shaped elephant, staring at Xiahou Feng. I am Li Dao. What does the general want? His voice was deep and loud, asking politely. The dangerous aura made Xiahou Feng's horse neigh nervously, becoming very uneasy. He swallowed hard, feeling speechless. Damn, Xiong Yud only said the new general was tall and strong, but he didn't say he was this tall. Not only him. The other officers nearby also looked shocked. They raised their heads to look at Li Dao, then swallowed nervously one after another. They realized that even on horseback, they seemed shorter than Li Dao when he stood up. Especially his muscles, bulging and shiny, looking fierce. Is this really a person? What a joke. All thoughts of comparing sizes with Li Dao instantly disappeared. Why is the general not speaking? Li Dao frowned. Cough, it's nothing. I was just asking casually. Truly a brave general. Xiahou Feng smiled warmly, becoming very friendly, as if nothing had happened before. He said, Your achievements have been heard by the general. The general specifically asked me to take good care of you when I see you. Truly, Talented people emerge every generation, each with their own style. Next to him, Xiong frowned, looking at Xia Hofeng with suspicion. Is this Xia Hofeng? Who is he? Did he take the wrong medicine today? Could he be trying to steal someone away? Li Dao, come here, Xia Hofeng said. Li Dao frowned, staring at Xia Hofeng. Although he still felt something was off, he turned and walked behind Xiong Yud. Only after Li Dao left completely did Xia Hofeng finally breathe a sigh of relief, feeling very relieved. He had no idea how much pressure he had just been under. What kind of strength does this guy have? He didn't move, but Xia Hofeng felt threatened. By the way, Deputy General Xiong, I don't know where you found this brother Li Dao. Xia Hofeng's eyes flickered as he suddenly asked. Why? Do you want to find someone too? Xiong Yud smiled gently, patting Li Dao's back, and said happily, Li Dao is an old friend of mine. He came to join me. If you want to find someone, you won't be able to. I see. That's a pity, Xia Hofeng said with a nervous laugh, rubbing his hands. By the way, how old is brother Li Dao this year? Is he married? Probably over 30, Xiong Yud turned to ask. Li Dao, are you over 30 this year? Li Dao was speechless, twitching at the corner of his mouth. I am only 15 years old, Li Dao answered seriously. Oh, so you're 30. Damn. How many? Xiong Yud and Sun Bao's eyes widened, and they turned around suddenly. Even Xia Hofeng and the nearby generals looked at Li Dao in shock, as if they saw a monster. 15 years old. Is he really 15? What nonsense is this? Reporting to the general, I am really only 15 years old, Li Dao replied earnestly. At this, Xiong Yud was completely stunned. This thing is only 15 years old. Really? Quite unique. Xiong Yud's face twitched as he awkwardly smiled. He quickly stopped thinking about this topic and immediately looked at Xia Hofeng, asking, Xia Hofeng, what did you just say? You said the general plans to blow up this Yangyan mine. Did you bring the explosives? Also, I wrote a letter to the general asking if the armor and weapons he ordered have been delivered. He hasn't forgotten about Li Dao. In his previous letter, he mentioned Li Dao's general needs. But now, looking at Li Dao's current size, it seems he definitely can't wear the newly made armor anymore. I brought the explosives and the weapons you asked for. Xia Hofeng nodded lightly. With a wave of his hand, someone quickly brought over a heavy black armor set, along with a giant battle axe nearly 2 meters long, double-edged. It was placed on the ground with a loud bang. Together, it weighed at least a few hundred jin. Let Li Dao take a look. Li Dao strode forward. He first grabbed the long, nearly 2-meter axe, swung it gently. Although this axe is bigger than the weapons Beryud has, for him, it still felt light. Then he picked up the armor and held it against himself, shaking his head lightly. This armor is too small. I can't wear it. No worries if you can't wear it. I'll tell the general later to have it remade. Beryud smiled and asked, do you think this weapon fits well in your hand? It's a bit short. It would be better if it were about 2 or 3 meters long. Li Dao nodded. Short is okay. We can add length later. Beryud kept smiling and looked at Xia Hofeng again. General Xiaoho, since the explosives are ready in advance, let's act quickly to avoid delays. Good. Xia Hofeng nodded immediately. With a wave of his hand, he ordered people to quickly carry the explosives toward the back mountain. Li Dao, let's go and take a look too, Beryud said. He led Li Dao directly toward the back mountain area. This was Li Dao's first time entering the back mountain. Usually, this area is forbidden. Even he couldn't enter before. Now, following everyone, they saw a chaotic pile of rocks ahead, and there was a mining site that had already been mined messily. The inside of the mine looked like it was made of gold, shining with a faint glow. Yangyan Mine. This Yangyan Mine has been mostly mined out by us already. Now, the deeper ore is hard to extract. The original plan was to keep this place secret and continue mining after the outside situation settled down. But now, the news has leaked, so we have no choice but to destroy it. Xiong Yud whispered. Li Dao nodded gently. As bundles of dynamite were carried into the mine, the entire tunnel was soon filled with explosives. Xia Hofeng held a torch, told everyone to move away, and after everyone retreated down the mountain, he looked coldly at the fire, threw the torch at the fuse outside, then turned his horse and left. The dragon horse beneath him let out a loud neigh, leaped forcefully, jumping over 10 meters, then quickly galloped down the mountain, as fast as the wind. Just as he had run a short distance away, a deafening explosion suddenly erupted from the mine. Boom. The sound was huge. The ground shook, like a terrible earthquake. A large burst of fire and air rushed into the sky, roaring loudly. Countless fragments of stone shot out like bullets from the explosion. The entire camp was instantly engulfed in blazing flames. Everyone at the foot of the mountain shouted in surprise. Xiao Feng rushed down the mountain, finally reaching the bottom, turned to look at the burning camp, took a deep breath, and shouted, "The Yanyan mine is destroyed. Even if the Yellow Turban Army gets this place, it's useless. Let's go." He turned around and started walking forward. Everyone immediately followed behind him. Xiong Yud also rode his unruly black dragon horse, with Li Dao, heading onward. That black dragon horse still seemed to remember what Li Dao had done before, its eyes full of challenge, snorting loudly, blowing out hot air at Li Dao, and its hind legs kept kicking up dust, deliberately throwing dirt at him. Li Dao couldn't help but feel speechless. Damn it, this horse is very smart. He simply turned his head away and ignored it. But Xiong Yud looked a bit embarrassed, smiled awkwardly at Li Dao, then suddenly grabbed the horse's mane and pulled hard. The horse reared and let out a long neigh, jumping repeatedly. "You beast, if you jump again, I'll cut you into pieces and eat you." Xiong Yud was furious. "Damn it, I fought White Cloud Dragon on foot back then and didn't see you come out to help. Now you still dare to show off in front of me? If it weren't for the fact that you are a rare and extraordinary dragon horse, I would have already killed you." Still not knowing when to stop, the black dragon horse also sensed Xiong Yud's cold attitude and shivered, showing rare fear in its eyes, and stopped acting up. It clearly felt that Xiong Yud really intended to kill, but it couldn't understand why Xiong Yud was treating it like this now. Wasn't he always treating it like a treasure before? Why would he want to crush it just for a human today? Li Dao shook his head repeatedly. It seems this stupid horse's intelligence is still not good enough. It has intelligence, but it's not very high. Xiong Yud snorted coldly, and the murderous look on his face finally faded. 2 days passed quickly. Li Dao's height increased again, growing more than 2 centimeters, reaching a total of 243 centimeters. But because he was so tall, even with the growth, others couldn't see much difference. What surprised everyone most was his eating capacity. Originally, they were traveling quickly and didn't carry much food, but now Li Dao could eat the food of more than 10 people in one meal, forcing everyone to reduce their rations. Fortunately, they kept moving fast and soon reached their destination. Otherwise, they might have had to find ways to get more food. In another direction, the area where the Yanyan mine had just been destroyed. Suddenly, a large group of yellow turbaned soldiers appeared, densely packed, stretching as far as the eye could see, surrounding the area tightly. In the middle of the mine area, a large number of generals appeared, all wearing armor and riding dragon horses, each looking mighty and impressive. The leader, dressed in gold robes and armor, with thick eyebrows and big eyes, exuded authority. His fierce eyes like lightning fixed on the area where the explosives had been detonated, silent. White Cloud Dragon clenched his teeth and cupped his fists, saying, "Commander, it's my fault for not reporting in time. Please forgive me, Commander. It's not your fault." The golden-robed, armored Li Rufeng softly said, "No one expected the appearance of Yanyan Mine here. However, Yang Yulong is quite bold. He's really willing to destroy this place." He paused slightly and said, "Yunlong, you mentioned you met a fierce general, over 2 meters tall, very strong, who can defeat you just with brute force." "Yes, Commander," Bai Yunlong responded with a respectful bow. "I'm actually quite interested in this person." Li Rufeng smiled slightly, then suddenly looked up and gazed toward the distant road. He said, "The affairs in Fengzhou City are almost settled. It's time to deal with Yang Yulong." The generals around him all looked excited, their eyes shining, holding their breath and quickly turning to Li Rufeng with eager expressions. Is the commander finally going to take action against Yang Yulong? That's great. They had conquered the prefecture, covering thousands of miles, and only Yang Yulong remained unresolved. He was a general sent by the court to guard this area. As long as he was here, they would always worry. Only by completely removing him could they feel at ease. And also, during this time, Yang Yulong was probably quickly recruiting soldiers. A battle between the two sides was inevitable. This land of Fengzhou is destined to have only one master, Li Rufeng said calmly. Does the commander have a plan? An old scholar nearby blinked his eyes and said, Yang Yulong isn't very strong, but he is a descendant of the Yang family, strict in military discipline, and highly respected. If we don't take him down in one go and let him escape, it will cause endless trouble. I have thought this through carefully. Li Ruffing nodded slightly and said thoughtfully, once all my men arrive, we will strike immediately. At dusk, a huge military camp appeared at the front of Li Dao and the others. It was built very grandly, with tall earthen walls, towers on all sides, and multiple fences. Inside, soldiers in armor, holding long spears, patrolled back and forth. Flags fluttered wildly, covering the sky and blocking the sun. The atmosphere in the camp was clearly tense and fierce. Is this the main camp of the general? It really looks different. Li Dao looked up and said, Li Dao, in a moment, Xiao Hofeng and I will go to see the general. You wait outside the tent. After I recommend you to the general, you can go in. Don't worry, the secret techniques and armor I promised you last time can all be requested from the general, and even your weapons can be reforged for you. Xiongyu smiled. Thank you, General. Li Dao nodded lightly. Soon, the group passed through the camp gate and headed inside. The guards at the gate were very surprised to see Li Dao and all looked back to watch him. Even though Li Dao had been gone for a while, they seemed to not realize he was back. Before long, Li Dao followed Xiao Hofeng and Xiong Yud to a large tent. Xiao Hofeng and Xiong Yud went straight inside, while Li Dao waited patiently outside. With nothing to do, he looked around the camp. As he looked, he seemed to become the center of attention. Patrol soldiers kept stopping and staring at him, as if they saw a strange creature. This made him frown and feel a bit uncomfortable. He's just a bit bigger than usual. What's so interesting? After about 10 minutes, the tent at the back was finally opened. Xiong Yud poked his head out and said, Li Dao, come in quickly. The general wants to see you. Li Dao carried his big axe, bent down, and squeezed through the low entrance. The main camp tent was only about 3 meters high. When he entered, his large figure cast a big shadow, covering half of the inside of the tent. Inside, the generals gathered there looked at Li Dao with shock and amazement. They all gasped in surprise. The leader was tall and strong, in his early 40s, wearing blue armor, and looked at Li Dao with suspicion, as if he was looking at a rare treasure. An ancient beast has truly arrived, Yang Yulong muttered to himself. Could such a fierce warrior really exist in this world? What kind of creature did he grow from? He tested the waters again, facing life and death. Please support with votes. Please follow the story. Li Dao, what are you standing there for? Hurry and salute the general. Beryud's face changed slightly when he saw Li Dao standing still. He quickly shouted, Li Dao. Li Dao clasped his fists and shouted loudly, like a bronze bell. Your humble servant Li Dao greets the commander. Li Dao, what a good name. Truly a good name. Yang Yulong repeated, still clearly impressed. He said, no need for formalities. Please rise quickly. He looked at Li Dao's face and said, Li Dao, I heard you defeated by Yunlong's army and saved Beryud. That is a great achievement. I want to reward you generously. What do you want? I have no other requests. I only ask the commander to give me the secret manual of the bone-reducing technique. Otherwise, my body might continue to grow, and I will become bigger and bigger, which is troublesome, Li Dao said straightforwardly, his voice loud. Everyone inside the tent was shocked. All the generals whispered to each other, surprised. This thing can still grow again. Is that even possible? If it grows more, what will it look like? Commander, Li Dao is telling the truth. I also promised him I would give him the bone-reducing technique manual. Beryud immediately stepped forward with clenched fists. Also, I want to forge armor and weapons for him. By the way, Li Dao doesn't have a suitable mount. He glanced at Yang Yulong with a very obvious meaning. Li Dao, the bone-reducing technique manual is just a small skill. I don't have it here either. But I can give you another secret manual that also has a bone-reducing effect. It's a bit difficult to practice, though. Yang Yulong smiled slightly and said, this martial art is called Tiger Demon Bone Forging Fist. Would you like it? He took out a thin, yellowed book from one side. It was clear he had prepared it earlier, especially since Beryud had just written to him not long ago. Tiger Demon Bone Forging Fist. Li Dao's eyes flickered. The other generals in the tent immediately gasped, their eyes turning red as they looked eagerly at the manual in Yang Yulong's hand. Top-tier martial arts. Tiger Demon Bone Forging Fist. The authentic martial art of the great Zen temple. The commander is really generous. Yes, this martial art mainly focuses on moving the joints and strengthening the bones. It can make bones as hard as steel and very tough. It is one of the most detailed and advanced secret manuals for bone forging. If you practice this martial art to a high level, it will be easy for you to change your body shape or appearance. Yang Yulong smiled. Li Dao quickly thanked the commander-in-chief. Xiong Yud looked worried and whispered, "This is top-level martial arts." Li Dao's eyes narrowed, and he clasped his fists, saying seriously, "Thank you, Commander-in-Chief. It's nothing." Yang Yulong smiled and handed the secret manual to Li Dao, saying, "A good sword is given to a hero. I have always valued talented people. Since you have made great contributions, you deserve a reward." He paused slightly and said, "It's a pity you are not practicing true energy systems. Otherwise, I could give you some Yanyan pills. Bring me my red-hearted armor." Someone outside the tent responded loudly and quickly left. Soon, a soldier carried a black wooden box and respectfully placed it on the table in front of Yang Yulong. Yang Yulong smiled slightly, opened the box, and took out a dark gold-colored armor covered with fish scale patterns. He said, "Li Dao, this armor has been with me for many years. It bears the Heavenly Contract Master array pattern. It is impervious to weapons and unaffected by water or fire. It can also be adjusted to fit perfectly." He continued, "Whether infused with blood energy or true energy, it can be controlled freely. I no longer need this armor now, so I am giving it to you. As for a mount, the army's Flood Dragon horses have been assigned. When new Flood Dragon horses appear, I will give you one again." "How about that?" "Thank you, Commander-in-Chief." Li Dao clasped his fists again and spoke. Everyone's eyes were filled with envy. The red-hearted armor. It is a treasure the Commander-in-Chief has worn for many years. Even experts at the 7th or 8th level of Foundation establishment cannot break through it. The Commander-in-Chief gave it to Li Dao without hesitation. Even Xiong Yud couldn't help but show deep envy and jealousy. He had served the court for many years and finally made some military achievements, earning 2 authentic martial arts as rewards. But now, Li Dao had just arrived and was gifted top-level martial arts and an unmatched treasure armor. It's truly frustrating to see others excel. Regarding your official position, starting today, you will officially be the Deputy Frontline Commander in my Yang family army. Your rank is only below generals like Xiong Yud, Xiahou Feng, Li Hu, and Zhang Bao. As you continue to earn military achievements, you will be further rewarded." Yang Yulong smiled. Originally, Li Dao was just a personal scout under Xiong Yud. But now, his position has been raised several levels, making him the Deputy Frontline Commander of the entire Yang family army. The benefits are significant. "Yes, Commander," Li Dao bowed and thanked him again. "Everyone, do you think I favor Li Dao a little too much?" Yang Yulong suddenly smiled and looked at everyone. "No, we don't dare." All the generals looked complicated and lowered their heads. "I have always valued talent over background. Most of you are brave men I discovered from humble beginnings. When you first joined, I gave you secret manuals and fine horses. I treat everyone fairly and without bias. I hope you all understand this," Yang Yulong said. The generals nodded in agreement. If it weren't for Yang Yulong discovering and promoting them, most of them might still be stuck in the ranks, earning credit for others, and their lives would be dull. It was Yang Yulong who broke the rules and promoted them, nurturing them step by step, which led to today. Yang Yulong's kindness to them is truly immense. Now, Li Dao's arrival and the many rewards he received are because Li Dao is strong enough, just like when they first arrived. For a moment, everyone's doubts and worries eased, and no one was dissatisfied anymore. The commander is broad-minded. I truly admire that. Everyone bowed in respect. Yang Yulong nodded with a smile and said, "Li Dao, I heard you want to forge a new weapon. Is it true that this battle axe doesn't feel right?" "Yes, Commander. The axe is somewhat awkward to handle. It's a bit short and light. If it could be around 2.5 meters long, that would be perfect," Li Dao replied. Yang Yulong was secretly surprised. Indeed, he is a remarkable person. A 2.5-meter-long axe. Who could stop that on the battlefield? When Li Dao's strength improves further, even a rebel army would be no match. "Good. I will have this battle axe reforged for you," Yang Yulong said. Next, he discussed some other matters, and after half an hour, he dismissed the crowd. After leaving the tent, Li Dao felt hungry again. He immediately grabbed Xiong and asked where the kitchen was. Xiong showed a bitter smile and led Li Dao to the kitchen. Inside the kitchen, Li Dao ate eagerly. After about half an hour, he was satisfied, patted his stomach, and left. Yang Yulong is actually quite a good person, better than I expected. He looked at the dark gold armor on his body. He flicked it with his fingers, and it made a series of crisp sounds, clearly showing the armor's toughness. In the blink of an eye, 7 days had passed. Besides carefully studying the Tiger Demon Bone Forging Fist, he also practiced the Heaven-Shaking Axe technique and Bear Spirit Body Refining skill daily, constantly improving his skill level. His strength increased rapidly again. However, as his strength grew, his body also kept getting bigger. Name: Li Dao. Age: 15. Height: 250 centimeters. Weight: 900 gene. Identity: former deputy vanguard of the Yang Army. Inner power: none. Martial skills: chopping wood, secret technique, chop. Ancestor long fist, secret technique, shake. Bear Spirit Body Refining skill, great success, 460/480. Heaven Shaking Axe technique, great success, 480ths. Tiger Demon Bone Forging Fist, beginner, 390/480ths. Curse: infinite growth. Your body will grow by 1 centimeter each day, with options to grow vertically, horizontally, or in specific parts. Xiong Spirit Body Refining skill and Heaven Shaking Axe technique are about to break through again. I wonder what level my current strength is at, compared to the foundation establishment stage. He frowned and looked at the panel. Then, he clenched his large hand tightly, releasing a fierce burst of energy. Veins bulged on his arm, muscles layered over muscles, and his skin darkened, looking terrifying. Unfortunately, progress on the Tiger Demon Bone Forging Fist is slow. To reach great success, I probably need at least another month. A month later, how much taller would I be? By then, would I still be considered human? He shook his head lightly, finding it hard to imagine what he would look like at that time. Li Dao, come out quickly. Your battle axe is ready. Suddenly, outside the tent, there was a joyful voice from Xiong Yud. Li Dao's eyes flickered, and he quickly bent down, crawling out through the small tent entrance. He saw Xiong Yud carrying a very thick, black-colored, iron-cast battle axe, which appeared fierce and powerful, outside his tent. With a loud bang, he placed the huge axe on the ground, causing the earth to sink immediately. How about it? Does this axe suit your taste? Xiong Yud smiled. Li Dao's eyes sparkled as he looked at the large axe, about the size of an adult's arm. He grabbed it suddenly, swung it fiercely, and a terrifying roar echoed through the air. Then he moved swiftly, performing a powerful set of moves called Heaven-Shattering Axe technique. The sound was sharp and piercing, full of momentum, with each strike fierce and intimidating. Even Xiong Yud couldn't help but step back repeatedly, his face showing shock, afraid of being caught in the fierce wind of the axe. Power splitting mountains, sweeping away armies, subduing dragons and tigers. The sun and moon lose their light. The world turns bleak. He finished each move quickly, one after another. Li Dao's large body stopped again, and he stuck the big axe into the ground with a loud bang. He looked proud and strong, then shouted, "Good axe. That's it. That's it." Xiong Yud nodded repeatedly, amazed. This guy is becoming more and more fierce. Luckily, he didn't give him a hard time back then. Otherwise, with his current strength, he could probably crush him like a tiny ant. Not far away, inside a large central tent, General Yang Yulong also looked amazed and happy, watching Li Dao from afar through the window. Truly divine help. Yang Yulong whispered, "Yes, having such a fierce general assisting the general makes me worry about the rebels' rebellion." A scholar dressed in Confucian robes, about 40 years old, sighed softly beside him. But now, with the yellow turban army pressing from the front and the court doubting and suspicious from behind, the situation is complicated. It's hard to take a bold step. Yang Yulong fell silent, saying nothing. The middle-aged scholar continued, "That postal official's visit is just about secretly asking for bribes. Why doesn't the general give him some? As long as he is bribed enough, this person will not oppose the general after returning to the court. Our army still lacks supplies, and morale is low. There is no extra money to give him." Yang Yulong's voice was deep. If that is the case, I fear that the postal supervisor will accuse the general once he returns to the court. With the current emperor's weakness, the general is in great danger soon. The scholar spoke softly. What do you suggest we do? Yang Yulong said gloomily. I have a plan that can keep the general free from worries about the court. The scholar's eyes flickered, and he looked at Yang Yulong, whispering, kill the postal supervisor. Yang Yulong narrowed his eyes, suddenly turned around, and looked at the scholar. He asked, are you forcing me to rebel? Not at all. Killing the postal supervisor and rebelling are two different things. The postal supervisor is just a corrupt official. He deceives the emperor, harms loyal officials. Why worry about killing him? If we let him return to the court, the general will likely lose his military power. Then, Finzhou will fall into chaos instantly and be taken over by the Yellow Turban rebels. At that time, the general will be a traitor for all eternity. Eliminating him quietly now is for the good of the country. The scholar said. Yang Yulong's heart was surging, and his eyes suddenly became deep and mysterious. Most of the people in our army have seen the postal supervisor. If I send someone to kill him and the news leaks, I will be doomed. Why worry about the choice of assassin? We already have someone ready. The scholar smiled slightly, looked toward Li Dao in the distance, and said, Li Dao is new here. The postal supervisor has never seen him. Even if the news leaks, the general can claim it was bandits from the nearby mountains or the Yellow Turban rebels. Moreover, as long as Li Dao is quick and careful, I believe no information will leak. Yang Yulong thought for a moment, then slowly nodded. After a while, Li Pioneer, come here for a moment. The general has something to tell you. Suddenly, the middle-aged scholar stepped out of the tent, smiling warmly, and called to Li Dao. Li Dao turned to look and saw Chun He, the strategist beside the general. He glanced at Xiong Yud and said, I'll go now. Then he grabbed his axe and headed toward the general's tent. Mr. Chun, did the general say anything? Once you go, you'll find out. Chun He smiled. All right. Li Dao stepped forward again, planted his large axe outside the tent, then lifted the flap and bent down to enter. Greetings, Commander. No need for formalities. Yang Yulong gently waved his hand, his eyes slightly closed, smiling as he said, Li Dao, I plan to send you out on a task. Please do it well. Oh, Li Dao looked suspicious. Come closer. Yang Yulong beckoned. Li Dao bent down and tilted his ear. Yang Yulong immediately explained his plan to Li Dao. At the end, he added, that postal supervisor, named Lin Shoyun, arrived a few days ago. Since I haven't bribed him, he's probably already resentful of me. When he returns to the court, he definitely won't let me go. I don't mind dying, but I'm worried that after I die, Fengzhou will fall completely into the hands of the Yellow Turban rebels. I feel very unwilling. I see. Li Dao nodded. Yang Yulong wanted to eliminate his opponent, but also didn't want the court to find out. So he asked the newcomer, Li Dao, to do the job. Is there a master guarding that postal supervisor? Yes. 3 experts at the 5th level of Foundation establishment, plus dozens of Golden Guard soldiers at the 3rd level. But the postal supervisor himself isn't very strong. Only at the 4th level of Foundation establishment, Yang Yulong said in a deep voice. Rest assured, Commander, I will not fail. Li Dao clasped his hands and said in a low voice, but where is that postal supervisor now? If he was only at the 5th level of Foundation establishment, he didn't consider him a threat. He just left this morning. You should intercept him in Yunhe County to the east, Yang Yulong replied, taking out a scroll and a map from the side, and handed them to Li Dao carefully. He said, follow the map. There is a portrait of the postal supervisor on it. Also, ride my Jiao horse to travel faster. Don't tell anyone else. Be sure to eliminate him completely. No need for the Jiao horse. My riding skills are poor, so I'll travel on foot. Also, Commander, send a trusted aide with me to prevent us from getting lost. Li Dao's voice was heavy as he held the map and scroll. Understood. Yang Yulong nodded. Yunhe County is located east of Fengzhou. It is nearly 100 miles from Yang Yulong's camp and is a necessary route back to the capital. Using Li Dao's running speed, he reached Yunhe County in just half a day. However, Yunhe County no longer has its former prosperity. All he saw were large areas of ruins. The houses were broken down, the ground was dry, and occasionally, skeletons were exposed outside, attracting flies and wild wolves to feed on them. A strong, Foul smell constantly spread throughout Yuna County. A few figures appeared here and there, all looking haggard with disheveled hair. Li Dao frowned, held his breath, and casually waved his hand to disperse the air in front of him. Better to be a dog in a prosperous age than a person in troubled times. That's really true. He only took a quick look at the situation in the county and didn't stay long. Instead, he surveyed his surroundings and then ran straight toward the road in the south of the small county. Soon, he arrived at the official road in the south of the town. Not far from here was a lush forest, providing shade and cooling the area. Li Dao put down his large axe, sat in the shade, and casually took out a pear from his bag, biting into it eagerly. He ate while waiting for the courier's convoy to arrive. He followed the map, taking a small path all the way here. So, he was definitely faster than the other side, who was traveling along the main road. Are we on the right path? Li Dao casually asked the soldier beside him. Rest assured, General, we haven't taken the wrong road, the soldier replied. Good. If we took the wrong turn, it would be trouble. It's rare to come out on a mission for the general, so I can't let it fail on my watch. Li Dao ate 2 pears without chewing, swallowing them whole. They waited quietly at this spot. After 2 hours, the sun slowly set in the west, turning the sky into a fiery red cloudscape, beautiful and dramatic. At the end of the road ahead, a convoy finally appeared. There were about dozens of people, with a luxurious carriage following behind. The figures riding on horseback in front looked impressive, dressed in blue and gold robes, with swords at their waists, faces cold and indifferent, as if they didn't see anyone around. General, they are coming, the soldier whispered quickly. Are you sure it's them? Li Dao observed carefully. Absolutely true. I have personally seen them, whispered the soldier. All right, I understand. You hide quickly. I will handle the rest myself. Li Dao waved his hand. The soldier immediately led his horse and rode away quickly. As soon as the soldier left, Li Dao grabbed the large black axe from the ground, covered his face with a black cloth, and stepped out of the dense forest like a demon god. Bang! He stabbed the axe into the ground with a heavy sound, and the wind swirled around him. His huge body stood still in the middle of the road. Under the setting sun, faint yellow light shone on him, making him look even more mighty and terrifying. Suddenly, anxious horse neighs came from ahead. The horses of the Golden Guard sensed danger first and dared not move forward, stamping their hooves in place. The faces of the Golden Guard soldiers changed quickly as they hurriedly held their horses' heads and tried to calm them, their eyes filled with suspicion and curiosity as they looked ahead. In just one glance, they were filled with shock. What kind of monster is that? Hey, who is blocking the road ahead? A Golden Guard soldier shouted bravely. Li Dao looked at them coldly, silent, standing still and quietly watching the people about 20 or 30 meters away. How dare you? This is the Imperial convoy. Are you trying to rob it? The soldier shouted again. But Li Dao remained silent, silently calculating the number of people in front of him and planning his next move. Everyone looked at each other in confusion. Who is this person? Why is he blocking the road without saying a word? Captain Li, what should we do? A 5th-level Foundation establishment expert whispered. Should we report to the master first? Another 5th-level Foundation establishment expert nearby nodded slowly. Yes, let's report to the master. They felt uncertain about this strange man. Since he dared to block the road, he probably wanted trouble. The two quickly turned their horses and hurried back toward the carriage behind. The postal officer inside the carriage was unaware of what was happening outside. He was carefully counting the benefits of his trip, with many gold, silver, and rare items spread out on the table. Next to him, a delicate young concubine was happily wiping something with care. Besides the many yellow and white items, a yellowed book also appeared in the postal officer's hand. It was titled Red Flame Heart Technique. It was a real energy cultivation manual. Without exception, all these items were offered by officials from various parts of Fengzhou. This manual is quite good and can be considered an authentic martial arts book. I hate that Yang Yulong. Despite my repeated hints, he ignores me. It's really annoying. When I return to the court, I must confront him. Lin Shouyun snorted coldly. Hee. Yang Yulong controls the military power. It's understandable that he looks down on you. When you return to the court, just report to the emperor that if his military power is taken away, he will surely behave. The young concubine giggled. Don't worry. If anyone offends me, they will regret it later, Lin Shuyan sneered. Sir, something has happened outside. Suddenly, Captain Li's voice came from outside the carriage, full of suspicion. Lin Shuyan frowned, lifted the curtain, and asked, What is it? A giant man appeared ahead, blocking the road. He hasn't spoken, but it seems something is wrong. Captain Li responded cautiously, glancing again toward the front. A giant man? Lin Shuyan looked suspicious. What kind of giant man? He was about to lift the curtain further to look outside when suddenly, an unexpected change occurred. Captain Li, who had been still, suddenly calculated the moment to attack. He shouted loudly, like thunder, deafening everyone. His body surged forward like a fierce beast. Stop! Caravan ahead, pay the toll, boom. The sound was huge, like rolling thunder, shaking the surroundings. A group of guards looked shocked, feeling their eardrums hurt and groaning in pain. They were about to react, but Captain Li had already rushed forward. His huge axe, like a heavy door, made a harsh screech as it swung toward them. It was too fast. From about 20 or 30 meters away, he reached them almost instantly. There was no time to react. Quick, flash, a group of knights shouted in alarm. Boom, charge. An axe swung across, hitting the 3 knights at the front. They were thrown into the air, screaming, their bodies cut in half. Blood sprayed everywhere, and even their horses' heads were chopped off, flying apart. Thick, sticky blood gushed out like a fountain from the horses' necks. The headless horses collapsed to the ground with loud crashes. Everyone remaining was terrified. There's an assassin. Protect the Lord quickly. Stop the assassin. Ha ha. Li Dao struck his target and laughed loudly. His terrifying voice echoed through the sky and earth. Standing 2.5 meters tall, he gave off an overwhelming sense of power, making the already chaotic crowd even more frightened. Die! He grinned fiercely, swinging his giant axe wildly at the enemy. His body spun like a whirlwind, smashing everything around him. He quickly used his skill, the crushing heaven and sea axe technique. Boom, 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 boom. Ah! Screams filled the air as bodies flew through the air. Large groups of the Imperial Guards were slaughtered. Even their horses, like torn cloth, were hacked apart by Li Dao, limbs flying everywhere. His crushing heaven and sea axe technique was only truly powerful in his hands, capable of shaking the heavens and binding dragons. In the hands of Bear Yud, it was weak and ineffective. The inspector inside the carriage just barely lifted the curtain when he saw the terrifying scene outside. His eyes widened in shock, and he gasped. Quick, stop that monster. Use hidden weapons. The expert at the 5th level of Foundation establishment, standing at the front, shouted fiercely. He immediately shot a barrage of poison darts, dense like a rainstorm, aiming straight at Li Dao. Li Dao's face changed. He raised his giant axe to block his face. His huge body continued rushing toward the carriage at full speed. Clang, 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 clang. All the poison darts were blocked by Li Dao's axe. Any remaining darts that hit him were stopped by his red-hearted armor. He moved like a heavily armored tank, rushing straight toward the inspector inside the carriage. The postman was terrified and frightened, his soul almost leaving his body. Without thinking, he smashed the carriage and fell to the side onto a warhorse. He shouted in alarm, Quick, stop him. Inside the carriage, the young concubine looked scared. She hurriedly jumped out, clutching a pile of gold and silver, and shouted, Sir, wait for me. Monster, die. Nearby, Captain Li and Captain Wu saw that their hidden weapons were useless against Li Dao. They shouted angrily, drew their swords, and leapt forward quickly to attack Li Dao together, teaming up with a 5th-level foundation-building expert to surround and kill him. When Li Dao saw the 3 rushing toward him, he sneered. He no longer hit his face with his giant axe, but swung it suddenly, making a terrifying sound. The air in front of him seemed to turn into raging waves, full of wild and frightening noise. Sweep away the army, boom. A huge axe swept out with immense power, containing an unknown amount of strength. The 3 5th-level experts, who had just rushed forward, looked shocked. They immediately felt like they were facing a disaster and found it very hard to breathe. Frightened, they quickly raised their weapons to block. Clang! Sparks flew as their weapons were knocked out of their hands. A terrifying and enormous force surged into these three experts. First, it shattered their palms, leaving their hands bloody and torn. Then, the true energy in their arms instantly dissipated. Their skin and muscles, covered by this energy, seemed to turn into rubber, trembling violently. Their bones and meridians looked like porcelain, cracking instantly and shattering completely. All three experts spat out blood and were thrown backward. One of them, in midair, was hit by Li Dao's giant axe. He let out a terrible scream, split in half, and fell apart. Splash! The remaining two experts crashed to the ground far away, blood spraying from their wounds. Their faces turned pale with fear, feeling as if their arms no longer belonged to them. Their bones and arm bones were shattered, and their hands were bloody and mangled. A sharp, stabbing pain kept spreading through their bodies. Monster! This was truly a monster. One of them, without hesitation, quickly turned around and ran, shielding the postman, rushing away into the distance. Another person lost the ability to move and was extremely frightened, shouting on the ground, "Help me!" But the remaining guards were too panicked to care about him, all caught in chaos and fear. Because after Li Dao defeated three experts at the 5th level, he suddenly charged into the crowd like a fierce tiger descending the mountain. He wielded a large axe about 2.5 meters long, spinning like a giant windmill, making loud, terrifying noises and striking with deadly force. His long legs and big strides made it impossible for anyone to stop him as he rushed through. Blood splattered, dust rose, and in a flash, all the guards were struck down by Li Dao. The 5th level expert on the ground finally regained some ability to move and quickly rolled and crawled away. But just a few steps away, Li Dao's huge body was already rushing toward him. Die! A sinister laugh echoed. His heavy, large axe made a harsh screech as it swung down like a thick door, aiming straight at the expert. Don't kill me! With a sharp sound, his body was split perfectly in two, very cleanly. Then Li Dao lifted his big axe, stepped with loud thuds, and quickly chased after the messenger fleeing ahead. He weighed over 850 jin, about 425 kilograms, plus the 300 jin, about 150 kilograms, axe, totaling over 1,000 jin, about 500 kilograms. Running with this much weight on the ground looked incredible. It was like a human-shaped war machine, dust and smoke billowing, making a roaring noise. Note, he was running on 2 legs, which means his legs' contact area was different from that of a lion or tiger with 4 legs. Plus, his explosive strength was huge. When he ran, it sounded like a grenade exploding, loud and powerful. His speed quickly matched that of a normal horse running. Go! 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 The messenger wildly whipped his horse and shouted, trying to escape forward. Behind him, the young woman with shoulder-length hair looked terrified, running as fast as she could on the ground. The 5th level expert hurriedly shouted in panic, "Hero, stop! You're just trying to rob us. We can give you all our money. We are officials of the court. You can't afford to offend us. Please stop." Until this moment, he still couldn't understand where this huge monster had come from. Ordinary people rob others for money. Isn't that enough? Why did he start killing immediately? Boom. The giant axe had already swung fiercely from behind, bringing a strong sense of suffocation, as if a mountain had suddenly fallen. It gave a feeling of endless, unstoppable power. I'm doomed. With a sharp sound, blood splattered. This expert at the 5th level of foundation building was cut in half at the waist and flew apart, dying completely. No, don't kill me. I can do anything for you. Sir, save me. I don't want to die. The young wife in front was terrified and screamed loudly. But Li Dao didn't give her any chance. His giant axe, like the Grim Reaper's sickle, swept through her with fierce, terrifying energy. With a splat, her body flew apart into 2 pieces, becoming just like everyone else. The patrol officer watched in horror, almost peeing himself, crying out, "Please spare my life. I am an official of the court. If you kill me, you'll be hunted down too. I can give you money, a position, anything you want. Let's talk it over." Talk it over? Go tell that to the king of hell. Ha! Li Dao burst into loud, ear-shattering laughter. His body quickly moved forward, swinging his huge axe again with fierce force. The patrol officer was terrified and quickly jumped off his horse. Splat! The terrifying axe chopped off the large horse's head instantly. The powerful force sent the remaining body flying and crashing far away. After landing, the officer was even more scared. He ran forward again, crying out, "Help! Save me! Someone is trying to kill a court official." Boom! Once more, the giant axe swung fiercely from behind. This time, the officer was not so lucky. With a splat, Li Dao cut him in half at the waist. Blood splattered everywhere. His upper body flew high into the air, eyes wide with fear, then crashed to the ground with a loud bang, dying completely. Li Dao finally stopped. He looked up and frowned. Damn, this is getting a bit bloody. How could I become like a perverted murderer? Next time I find someone to fight, I must not be so violent. He picked up a large axe and walked toward the body of the patrol officer. First, he cut off the officer's head and put it in a cloth bag. Then he immediately searched the body. Unfortunately, he found nothing. Suddenly, he realized something and turned to run toward the young concubine. After searching her thoroughly, he quickly found a lot of gold and silver items. He then hurried back to the carriage. Inside the carriage, there were even more gold and silver treasures scattered around. He grabbed a bag and packed all the valuables inside. He searched carefully again. Please support with a monthly ticket. Hey, what's this? Suddenly, Li Dao picked up an old, yellowed book. It was titled Red Flame Heart Technique. His eyes lit up, and he quickly opened the book to look at it. Is this a true energy systems martial art? Li Dao was very happy. It felt like divine help. He had always been curious about the true energy systems martial arts, but never had a chance to ask the general. Now, he had found one himself. With his panel's help, he didn't need to worry about progress. As he kept practicing, the true energy martial art would improve quickly, just like other combat skills. Soon, he would be able to cultivate both energy and body. Li Dao was very satisfied. He put away the martial art and quickly searched the other guards. The hidden soldier from before finally stepped out of the woods, looking at Li Dao with shock. This Li pioneer was truly terrifying. No wonder the general valued him so much. One person and one axe, and he had already killed all the people in the patrol officer's entire convoy. Seeing the bloody, giant axe, the soldier swallowed hard and shivered. The last rays of sunset disappeared. Darkness completely covered the sky, and stars filled the night, shining faintly. Li Dao and the other didn't continue their journey. Instead, they stopped at an abandoned temple along the way to rest. In front of a burning bonfire, Li Daozhen carefully counted the treasures inside the bag. Inside, it was densely packed with various sizes of gold, silver, and jewelry, heavy and eye-catching. All of these were taken from Lin Shouyun and his group of guards. He picked up a pearl about the size of a pigeon's egg and examined it closely. In this time, when everyone struggles to find enough to eat, it's surprising that someone can get such a thing. It reminds him of an old saying, "Rich families smell of wine and meat, while the poor die of cold on the streets." Kid, since you worked hard to lead the way, I'll give you this pearl. Li Dao tossed the pearl into the air, and it flew directly toward him. The young soldier was startled, feeling both fear and joy. He quickly knelt down and said, "Thank you, General Chin-sanhai. Get up, go to sleep early, and be ready to leave tomorrow." Li Dao waved his hand. "Yes, General." The young soldier hurried to stand up. But Li Dao was not feeling sleepy. Instead, he took out the Red Flame Heart Technique and began to read it. According to the book, this technique is a genuine martial art. It is an inner martial art of the Yangyan sect, under the rule of the great Zhou Emperor. Practicing it can produce a fierce, fiery, and powerful true energy inside the body. This true energy is created by walking along special meridians and acupoints, practicing diligently every day, which slowly generates it. This is very different from their physical body cultivation method. Physical body cultivation involves strengthening and excavating the body to gain power, which is very hard work. The true energy system, on the other hand, absorbs external natural forces from the world, transforming them through special meridians and acupoints into personal energy stored inside the body. In short, cultivating true energy is much less tiring than cultivating the physical body. After carefully reading it once, Li Dao took a slow breath and began to try cultivating inside his body. The night passed quickly. The morning sun rose. It spread across the land. Li Dao opened his eyes again, frowned, and looked at the panel. He saw that, besides his height having increased a little, The section for the martial arts technique did not show the words red flame heart technique, as he had hoped. It seems that the true energy system is not as simple as I thought. I need to first develop a sense of energy before it appears on the panel. This is really frustrating. He muttered to himself for a while, then got up from the ground, carried his big axe, and said, "Let's go. We should head back early." "Yes, General," Chin Sanhai quickly responded and led his horse away. As for breakfast, they had prepared enough dry food before coming, so they could eat while walking. But just as they had just started to walk away, they suddenly saw two figures on the desolate road ahead, walking on foot. The two looked strange together and moved very fast. It was as if they could shrink the distance instantly, each step taking them 7 or 8 meters away. Their strange speed made Li Dao and the others feel surprised, and they stopped to watch. One was a chubby monk, short in height, about 1.6 meters. The other was tall and thin, with a dark face, about 1.8 meters. As they walked, their figures flickered. They clearly saw Li Dao and the others coming out of the broken temple, and they looked very surprised. "Wow, what a brave man." The tall man was the first to speak, constantly observing Li Dao and shaking his head in amazement. "Such a treasure, really a treasure." The monk next to him nodded repeatedly, not sure if he was talking about Li Dao or the big axe on Li Dao's back. Li Dao felt uncomfortable under their gazes. Thinking that it was better not to get involved, he ignored their words and simply walked past them. "Sir, please wait a moment." Suddenly, the chubby monk smiled and spoke. Li Dao frowned and looked back at the two behind him. The monk forced a small smile and said, "I see that you and Buddha are destined to meet. Why not come with me for a while?" "No thanks." Li Dao responded coldly and turned around. Just then, the monk muttered something under his breath. Suddenly, Li Dao's face changed. He felt the air around him turn icy and sharp, as if it had become invisible waves rushing toward him. He quickly swung his big axe and swept backward in a flash. But in the blink of an eye, his body began to freeze rapidly, making cracking sounds. In an instant, he turned into a huge ice sculpture, completely still. "General," the soldier nearby looked shocked and shouted in fear. "Stay here too." The monk chuckled. Next, the soldier's face showed terror. Like Li Dao, he started freezing from his legs and arms, cracking sounds echoing as he turned into an ice sculpture. Even his horse beneath him froze into ice, all sealed together. "Haha, Master Fahan's ice magic is becoming more and more skilled," a nearby monk said with a smile. "Not quite. Compared to Master Chinya, I still have a long way to go," the monk replied with a smile. "Master Fahan is very humble. With your current strength, you are not much weaker than me." The other monk smiled slightly and looked at Li Dao again. He asked, "But such a fierce warrior, what does Master Fahan plan to do with him?" "Of course, send him to the city to present to Lord Li Ruffin," the monk chuckled. "Lord Li just captured the city and is eager for talented people, recruiting all kinds of experts. I am just sending him as a scout. With his size and combined with secret Buddhist techniques, he will be unstoppable. I believe Lord Li will like this very much." "Good," the other monk agreed with a smile. They immediately reached out to grab the two ice sculptures, intending to take them away directly. But just then, the ice sculpture where Li Dao was suddenly made cracking sounds, with large cracks appearing on its surface. A monk and a layman immediately changed their expressions, sensing danger. They instinctively stepped back quickly. Boom! The huge ice sculpture suddenly exploded. Large chunks of ice flew everywhere. Li Dao's eyes widened with rage. His blood and energy surged out, turning his body red. Like a furious demon, he roared loudly, wielding his giant axe and rushing toward the monk and layman. "Old thief, how dare you? Die! Not good!" The monk and layman shouted in alarm. The ice magic was ineffective against this person. No wonder he wasn't at the 4th level of Foundation establishment. Did they mistake his cultivation level? The two quickly retreated backward while chanting spells. Sharp ice spikes appeared rapidly in front of them, like a rain of arrows, rushing out suddenly. But Li Dao's giant axe was already swinging swiftly. He used the heaven-shattering axe technique. Boom, 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 boom. The ice spikes were shattered instantly by his powerful strikes, flying everywhere. Cold air filled the sky. Ice chips splattered, and he couldn't be touched at all. The monk tried to cast his frost spell again, but Li Dao's strength made even the frost magic fail. The cold air that just surged forward was crushed by Li Dao's mighty axe technique. His body moved like a fierce dragon bursting out, strong and unstoppable, rushing toward the two. The monk and his companion were shocked by Li Dao's sudden terrifying power. They quickly retreated, launching strange attacks at him. Frost spell, flame spell, wind blade spell. Streams of hot light burst out, covering everything. Ice, fire, wind, and sand, trying to overwhelm Li Dao. But Li Dao, with his thick blood and armor, swung his huge axe and cut through the cold, fire, and sand, fighting his way forward. Some ice and fire landed on his face, making him sting, but he didn't stop. He kept rushing forward as fast as before. These two's attacks were so strange that Li Dao couldn't imagine what other tricks they might have. Now, he just wanted to defeat them as quickly as possible. He couldn't give them a chance to cast more magic. By now, Li Dao had guessed their identities. Such strange attacks could only mean they were legendary sky contract masters. Boom, 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 boom. The sounds roared as Li Dao swung his giant axe wildly, smashing through the attacks coming at him. His forehead, cheeks, hands, knees, and thighs were all cut with small wounds. Every part not protected by his divine armor was injured by the two. But the monk and his companion were also extremely shocked. Despite their attacks, they couldn't stop Li Dao from getting closer. He kept advancing rapidly. Suddenly, the Taoist's face turned bright red, and he coughed up 3 mouthfuls of blood. The blood quickly gathered and turned into a small, palm-sized crimson dagger. As soon as the dagger formed, it turned into a streak of red light and shot straight toward Li Dao. Li Dao's expression changed. He quickly dodged and swung his giant axe in defense. But the crimson dagger was too fast. It brushed past him, cutting his shoulder and leaving a deep, bleeding mark. Even worse, the wound began to wither rapidly, as if the dagger had absorbed his life force. A strange mix of pain and numbness spread from the wound. Startled, Li Dao ignored his injury and unleashed his full strength, performing his most powerful axe technique. His body surged with energy, glowing with a bright red light. It looked as if a thick, blood-colored shell had formed around him. Seeing Li Dao's fierce power, the Taoist was shocked and quickly retreated, controlling the crimson dagger to attack again from behind. Beside him, a monk began chanting rapidly, forming hand seals. A strange golden light shot from his fingertips toward Li Dao. It was incredibly fast. Before Li Dao could react, the golden light struck him. With a loud sound, his charging body suddenly froze, as if bound by an invisible force. "Don't kill him. We still need him," the monk shouted. The Taoist immediately redirected the crimson dagger, aiming it at Li Dao's left knee. Li Dao's eyes widened in fury. His energy surged like roaring waves, and a thunderous sound echoed from within his body. At the last moment, his body burst with divine light again, breaking free from the restraint. The next instant, he moved once more. "Go to your end," he roared, his voice booming as he swung his massive axe in a wide arc. The axe collided fiercely with the incoming crimson dagger. "Not good," the monk shouted in alarm, sensing danger. Boom. A loud explosion occurred, blood splattering everywhere, flying through the air. A small blood-red dagger was shattered instantly by Li Dao's fierce axe. Large amounts of blood poured down, splashing all over him. Li Dao's anger burned fiercely. His tall, 2.5-meter body suddenly charged forward like a raging beast, continuing to rush toward the monk. As the blood-red dagger was destroyed, the monk's face turned pale. He spat out a mouthful of blood, looking terrified. He staggered backward, as if struck by a terrible backlash. Only the monk still had some strength left, but he looked panicked. He quickly grabbed his staff and retreated swiftly, forming 3 thick layers of ice walls in front of him like lightning. But all the ice walls were too weak to withstand. They were shattered instantly by Li Dao's charge, breaking apart as if made of rotten wood. Li Dao's huge body looked like a demon god. He swung his giant axe, fiercely sweeping toward the monk, with a terrifying momentum. "Run!" The monk looked shocked. Suddenly, a yellow talisman appeared in his hand, and he activated it quickly. With a bang, both of their bodies turned into yellow light and sank into the ground, disappearing from sight. Boom. Li Dao's axe swung through the air, hitting nothing, stirring up huge gusts of wind and roaring loudly. He stopped, his eyes flickering with thought, deeply shaken. Earth escape, who exactly are these two? They are incredibly With a bang, both of their bodies turned into yellow light and sank into the ground, disappearing from sight. Boom. Li Dao's axe swung through the air, hitting nothing, stirring up huge gusts of wind and roaring loudly. He stopped, his eyes flickering with thought, deeply shaken. Just using Earth escape didn't mean they had truly left. If they came back and ambushed him from behind, he would definitely be seriously injured. At that moment, a cracking sound came from nearby. Chun Sanhai's body started to break the ice that had frozen him, melting from the inside out. Chun Sanhai trembled violently, his lips turning blue, looking extremely frightened. Cold, so cold. His warhorse beneath him had already been frozen stiff and collapsed to the ground, unable to move at all. Hurry up and go. Seeing Chun Sanhai break free, Li Dao quickly made a decision. He suddenly rushed forward, grabbing the other's body with a firm grip, then kicked off and ran wildly toward the distance. The sound of footsteps thundered, dust flew everywhere, and in the blink of an eye, they had run far away. Please keep reading. Please vote for the monthly pass. In a distant place, Li Dao ran fiercely for about 50 or 60 miles before finally stopping. He stood on a large rock, took a deep breath, and looked around in all directions. This place was at the foot of a stone mountain, surrounded by heavy rocks on all sides. Even with earth escape techniques, it would be hard to dig through. Of course, if the enemy really chased him for 50 or 60 miles and suddenly emerged from underground to ambush him, he would have to accept his fate. How are you? Li Dao's voice was heavy as he looked at Chun Sanhai. Thank you, Commander Li, for your help. I'm fine now. Chun Sanhai's face was still pale, but he was no longer seriously hurt. The monk earlier didn't intend to kill him, only froze him with frost magic. Plus, he was a master at the 4th level of the true energy system, with his true energy flowing constantly, so his internal organs weren't badly damaged. Aside from feeling cold, he was okay. That's good. Since you're fine, lead the way quickly so we can leave this dangerous place, Li Dao responded. Understood, Chun Sanhai nodded. He then led the way and headed toward the distance. In another direction, in the distant wilderness, a faint yellow glow flickered from the ground. The monk and the other person emerged from underground once again, both looking extremely disheveled. Especially the monk, whose face was pale, his clothes stained with blood, and still showing signs of shock. Fortunately, Master Fahan carried a Earth Escape talisman with him. Looking at the clothing of the person beside him, it seems to be the attire of the Yang Army. Could he be a member of the Yang Army? Master Fahong said. Yang Army? Yang Yulong's people? Master Qinya asked in surprise. Very likely, Master Fahong nodded. Damn it, Yang Yulong has such fierce generals. Quickly, go and tell Lord Li the news. Qinya's face changed color. The two immediately stepped away from the place. Soon, they rushed into Fengzhou City and saw Li Rufeng, the leader of the Yellow Turban Army. When Li Rufeng saw how ragged they looked, he was stunned and quickly asked what happened. The two told him everything they encountered on the way. Li Rufeng was stunned, unable to believe it. Are there really such brave fighters in this world? Absolutely true. We saw him ourselves, Qinya said firmly. He continued, this person is nearly a zhang tall, with skin like iron. He wields a giant axe over 2 meters long. We originally wanted to capture him and present him to the Lord, but he is naturally very strong and difficult to fight. Even the two of us couldn't subdue him, and we almost got hurt. By the way, judging by his clothing, he seems to be one of Yang Yulong's men. Everyone around was shocked. Nearly a zhang tall. Skin like iron? Are you joking? Yang Yulong's men? Li Rufeng frowned. How could Yang Yulong have such fierce generals? He looked again at Master Fahong and Master Qinya and said, You came from afar. I am honored. Please wait a moment. Once everyone arrives, we can begin our action. Of course, the monk and the warrior nodded together. Hundreds of miles away, inside the Yang army, Li Dao finally returned safely, holding a bag with a human head. When he saw Yang Yulong, he gently placed the head on the table. Did not disgrace my mission. Please, Commander, take a look. Li Dao cupped his hands. Inside the military tent, Yang Yulong and his strategist Chun He both looked at the unblinking, lifeless head. Chun He took a deep breath, then looked at Li Dao with a smile, and said, "With General Yang's help, having Li the vanguard is like adding wings to a tiger." Yang Yulong frowned slightly, and suddenly noticed multiple wounds on Li Dao, especially on his shoulder. The large gash was shocking, with faint wrinkles on the skin. "Are you hurt? Could it be from those Golden Guard soldiers?" "No." Li Dao shook his head and honestly told him about the monk, the Taoist, and Yang Yulong they encountered along the way. Yang Yulong's face darkened immediately. "It's them." Advisor Chun He, standing nearby, also spoke in a serious tone. "People from the Heavenly Dragon Institute and the Wuyang Temple." Based on Li Xianfeng's description, it seems to be Master Fa Hong and Master Qinya. "It should be them," Yang Yulong said in a deep voice. "Does the general know about them?" Li Dao looked confused. "Yes, the Heavenly Dragon Institute and Wuyang Temple are hidden sects nearby. They are quite powerful and are known for their special skills. However, they have long secretly allied with the Yellow Turban Army. I wanted to find a good chance to eliminate them one by one, but now you've encountered them at the same time.